Right, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, the Warren's Team Talk. It's lovely to see you all, and I hope you had a good day on whatever you've been doing. Anyway, well, tonight I'm really delighted to say that I'm honoured to have the one and the only, the infamous Del Boy Gunner from Del Boy Gunner TV. Absolutely delighted to say he's joined me tonight, and what we're going to do. We're going to be talking about Del Boy's life as a football fan and find out all the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the lefts and rights of all that. So, but before we get started, I just want to give Del Boy the opportunity to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his channel and stuff like that, if that's okay. So, I'm going to pass you over to Del Boy.
Yeah, what's the crack? What's the bleeding story? I had to come on and say it, mate.
Excellent.
Yeah. Look, thanks a million for getting me on. I really appreciate it. Because I suppose when you have your own channel, you don't really it's like, let's say, going on a date with a woman. You don't want to be just talking about yourself all the time. So you have to give everyone their chance and their fair share. That's the way I look at it,
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, look, delighted to be on. Really appreciate it. I love your channel, Warren, and there's a lot of people out there that look at your channel and have so much respect for you and the way that you present yourself and your channel. So I'm absolutely delighted to be on, mate.
Thank you so much, Del. So, do you want to just say a little bit about it and what you do on it and stuff like that for people who may not have seen it before?
Yeah, so basically, I just shoot from the hip, and that's the type of person I am. I just call it like I see it, and my opinions are not set in stone. They're not right. They're very far from right, to be honest with you. But no, look, if something's not right and I feel it's not right, I'll say it, and it's the same way in life. You should always stand up for yourself and be true to yourself and don't be a fake. And just going with the gravy train or the Arteta sexuals out there, you know what I mean? Do your own thing. But yeah, look, we do show with yourself, Jez, Kenny, and a few other fans that I look up to and respect what they have to say about the club, young and old. My channel's about that. And look, some people sort of I give everyone let's say the Arteta ins, I give them a voice as well, because look, I just think, look, it's about opinion as well. You know what I mean? And this is why we're fans. Not everyone agrees with each other, and that's fair enough. If we all agreed with each other, life would be pretty boring. So my channel, I just like to sort of hear from the others, and let's say then come to a conclusion that Del Boy's right. you know. But yeah, look, that's sort of it. And I also do videos as well. I just when I'm doing videos, people probably think he edits them and everything like that. I actually don't. I go in, if it's a 10-minute video, it's a 10-minute video, and it's just me actually just talking. Whereas let's say someone could be scratching their head. Oh God, I don't want that in the video. I'll cut that out or I'll edit it out. And the simple fact that I don't do that is because I haven't a clue how to. And even if I did know how to, do you know what? I wouldn't do it. And it's that's just me, and it's my channel the way I want it. It's just rough and tumble. I could do a fart in the background, and look, it's in the show. You know what I mean? Let's go from there. I'm nothing special. I'm only, as I always say, a fucking Egypt from Dublin with an opinion. But look, this is it, and some people like it, and some people don't. And some people, I find that, let's say, they'd look at your channel, they might see one video and just go, "Jeez, he's actually talking a bit of sense there. That's grand." And they actually subscribe to your channel, and then one or two videos later, they look into and go, "No, he's actually a fucking agent and he's a bit mad, so I'm unsubscribing from him." But that's grand. Doesn't bother me.
Exactly, right. But the show that I really like is when you do your call-ins.
Yeah.
After the matches, you get people calling into the channel and having their say. I just think it's superb the way you do that.
Yeah, and it is actually very hard to do because, like, some people don't have the same opinions as me, and they're probably there. Arteta's the best manager, and blah blah, and that's grand. And as I said, like, I don't mind that. I really don't like, and I'll give them their time to say their piece and say what, like, even if it's a match, they could say, "Oh, Shaka was just unplayable. He's brilliant. He's this and he's that," and I'd be there. Right? Oh, I didn't see that, but you did, and that's fair enough. And it allows for debate. It allows for, like, other people to have their say. And the way that I look at it is, I am only a fan at the end of the day. I'm nothing special at all. I like how I started my channel was basically watching the matches at home, and my young fella Zach, and I'm sure you've seen him on a few videos and stuff like that. And he was always there, like, he started a YouTube sort of channel thing himself. He was trying to do just between him and his mates, being honest with you. But he was there saying, "Dad, you should do it. Like, you're always sitting on the couch and you're giving out to the telly and stuff like that." And I says, "What I call that is an armchair terrorist. They sit on their couch, they give out this, I do that, and I'll do this, and I'll do that, like, and he says, go on, you have a big mouth, and you go and do it, like, so I just says, right, come on, we'll just do it for the crack, and just started to do it. Now, the first few videos, like, I was pretty, like, oh, what do I say? People are going to slag me. My opinion, it's probably just way out there and it's just ridiculous, and no one will actually understand what the hell is that clown on about. But I just said, do you know what? It's what I think, and I'll just go with it, and went from there. My first few videos of people watching them are probably there, Jesus Christ, what's he talking about? But look, you either like it or you don't, and if you do like it, everyone that has a YouTube channel will tell you, please hit the like button, because it gives you a momentum to sort of go, well, there was let's say 100 people looked at my video and 33 people liked it. And you're sort of going, wow, that's right. Okay. There was 70 odd people that says he's a fucking angel, you're thinking. But you always look at the positive side of things. I always do. Well, there's 33 people that actually thought they liked it and they hit the button. So, it's not all that bad, to get yourself out there and put yourself in front of a camera. And like Warren, and like, Jez and, like, Gracie May and everyone else, like, it is hard to put yourself in front of a camera and talk opinions, because it's the easiest thing in the world to put a comment into someone's video just going, mate, you're a such and such, and you talk rubbish and stuff like that. And, I'd always look and go, right, that's fair, and I respect that comment, but, you do it then. It's not always, it's easy behind the computer, and that's why you get the bullying and stuff like that, online bullying. So I've no time for people like that. But yeah, I suppose that's it. But to go back to your calling, about the calling, yeah, I do enjoy doing it. Sometimes you get people coming on, and you're just like, it's like getting blood out of a stone. You're just like, right, say something else. Come on, it's not about me. You've hit the button to come in and say, right, I want to go on his channel. I want to tell him what I think of him, or what I think of what he's talking about, and what I think of the game. It's your time, so I'm giving you your platform to say your piece, let's say. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and sometimes debates get a bit heated and stuff like that. But look, that's what it's about, I respect everyone's opinion, and that's why I sort of do it,
It's a great show, and I really, really enjoy it, and I've got a lot of respect for you for doing it, because mostly because it takes a lot of guts to do it, right? Right, mostly because you just don't know what's coming in. Like, anyone could be coming in. You don't know who they are. You don't know anything about them. You may never have spoken to them before. You don't know what they're going to do, what they're going to say. Do you know what I mean? And I've just got utmost respect for you for doing it, mate. I really have. And it's great that you give people the opportunity to have their say. Like that, just off the cuff. Because there's a few there's a few that do it, and but yeah, there's a lot that don't, and yeah, so fair play to you, mate. And can you tell everyone about the story about where you broadcast out of? Because I just find that I think it's excellent, that story about where you're sat there at the moment. But I want you to tell that story because I think it's great.
Yeah, so basically, I'm in my house now. It'll be 3 years in August, and two things that I've always wanted in a house is like because I'm an electrician and I'm a plumber and I do air conditioning and I do boilers and all heating and so gas boilers and stuff like that. And I own my own company, like and I have staff as well that work for me. And that was one of me sort of things I've always wanted to do, is always be my own boss. And I always wanted to own my own house. So I got them. But as I was buying my own house, I always wanted to have, let's say, a sunny back garden. And I always wanted a bar in my back garden because, being an Irishman, you don't want to be too far from your local bar. So I don't think I can get any closer. So what I done was, there was a basically looked at a few houses and stuff like that. And the house that we bought, that there was a shed, empty shed, and I was just there. Yeah, perfect. So the reason why I says I do this type of work is so I'm handy with my hands. I can build stuff and do stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I done, and I just made a bar. I made it out of pallets and railway sleepers. The pieces of, let's say, wood or whatever that goes along the tracks and that. So I laid them down on top of the pallets and made it from there, and painted it up and done bits and pieces, hung other stuff around. Like I might do a show in the summer of, let's say, showing people inside the bar. Might be interesting. I don't know. Might be boring for some people, but I suppose look, it's something to get out there during the summer. But yeah, that's it. Ran in all the electrics and stuff like that, and put sockets up and lights and everything like that, and just hung a jersey up, and I just says, right, everything's ready now. What's my next thing to do? And my young fella then slagging me saying, go on, do a YouTube channel. So here we go, this is it.
Because you got a hurley stick in the back as well, haven't you?
Yeah, do you know what that actually is? It's a friend of mine, okay? That's a hurley stick, all right. But we dared him to make a guitar out of it. So I don't know how to play it, but yeah, that's what it is. It's actually a hurley stick guitar. So I had to put that up. So basically, so for people who don't know what hurling is, I'll probably introduce them to it in the summer, because when the season's over and everything in the football and the Premiership, the hurling and the Gaelic season starts, and it's tough going. I played hurling and I have medals for winning it. And one of the years I was captain for it, and that's probably we'll be talking about, let's say, teams and stuff like that, and that's the way I look at the team, is you have to have plenty of leaders in it, plenty of captains, But with the hurling, yeah, it's basically a stick it's like a brick with a leather around it, and that's what they do. It's the fastest ball game in the world. You need to be pretty tough to play it, all right. And I'd recommend, let's say, if you're watching this, just YouTube, I don't know, hurling, introduce yourself to it, because it's a tough sport. You have to have helmets on. If you don't have helmets, you can bleed. Oh, you get pretty beat up, all right. Just put it that way,
But Delboy, tell me, that bar, right? Is it like a proper full license bar? I mean, i.e., do you have customers coming in and like?
Well.
Or is it just you and friends and family and whatnot?
Yeah, friends and family. I do have I can show you here. I have my tap there. Can you see it? Yeah. So, so basically, what I do, let's say if there was something coming up, an event or something like that, I'd set that up, hook it up to a keg. I have the cooler, everything like that. I have all that, now Now it'd be free drink. So if any Gardaí, the Gardaí are the police of Ireland. So if any of them are watching, it's free. So I'm not selling anything. So I don't need a license for it.
Yeah, so the last thing you want is the Gardaí coming round, mate.
Yeah. Well, here they can come around. I'll give them a free pint.
Exactly. Right. Okay. So Delbert, I'm just gonna look at some of these chats a sec.
Yeah, cool, yeah.
So we got the Blue Podcasters come in and put a couple of blue hearts in, which is very nice. Thanks,
That's
mate.
good channel, actually. Fair play.
Yeah. And then the Arsenal 49, he says 2 streams in one day, Warren, you absolute nutter. Yeah. Well, yeah, because he was in the one I did earlier, so fair play to him.
Right, yeah, fair play.
And then he just says, can you donate me your YouTube earnings for a new keyboard? Mate, I don't make any money from YouTube, unfortunately. And Del Boy, a bit of a maniac.
I'll take that.
I don't know what that's all about. And then the Assembled says, good evening. I'm not sure of Arteta's system or decision making. It leaves a lot to be desired. If he proves me wrong, well done. Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. What do you reckon, Del Boy?
Yeah, look, the way I look at it is I just want the best for this club. And I always say I don't care if it's fucking Mickey Mouse or Ronald McDonald as the manager. I just want them to win and be challenging and up there all the time. So I don't care who's there. If it's Arteta doing the job, happy days, walk away. But, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Exactly. So Craig Malloy's in. Nice to see you, Craig. Thanks for coming in. Well, Warren, Del Boy, big up. Lovely to see you, Craig. And then the Arsenal 49 says, I can see this Arsenal team growing together over 2 or 3 seasons. The team has young, exceptional players that will develop consistently and improve significantly with hopefully a few top signings. Yeah, well, let's hope so, eh? And then Taib's in and he says, hi, Del Boy, hi, we're on Arteta out. Yeah, that's it. That's what I want to see, Taib. And then Craig Malloy says, Taib, big up. Right, so I'm going to get into the meat of the chat, Del Boy. And so the first question I want to ask you is about how it all started. And so I know the answer to this question, but I'm not sure that everyone else does. So the first thing I want to ask you is, where were you born, Del Boy?
Yeah, so I was born in the west of Ireland. To be technical, I suppose, this is the thing, right? I'm picture myself as a fella from Roscommon. Okay, we're a county in the west of Ireland. Now, I was born in Banlaslow, and Banlaslow is it's sort of half of it's in Galway and half of it is in Roscommon. But I was technically born in the Galway side where the hospital is. So my mates would slag me and just go, "You're a Galway man." But that to me is it's like me saying to you, you were born in Scotland or Germany or something like that. You know what I mean? But that's where I was born. So I picture myself as a Roscommon man. I definitely would. That's where I was born. When my mom and dad, when I was young, about 12 years of age, my mom and dad then moved up to Dublin, and that's why hence I have the Dublin accent, because when I was turning into a teenager and you're going through your phases and stuff like that, and my voice changing, that's why I have a Dublin accent. But the West of Ireland accent is completely different to a Dublin accent.
So where you're from in the west of Ireland, right? Is it far from a place called Connemara?
Yeah, no, it's not at all. So you have Roscommon, you have County Roscommon, and as I says, I wouldn't be far from the Galway border where Connemara is. Connemara is would be West Galway. Sort of. It's beautiful. That area there. I don't know. Were you ever there before yourself?
No, it's one of my best mates when I was working in the Irish organisation.
Right.
Was a guy by the name of Porrig.
Yeah,
and he was an ex-priest, and he
Right.
left the priesthood. And he came to work in London and came to work for the organisation I worked for. Me and him got on like a house on fire. But all his family were all their first language was Irish.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
We had, I think it was a christening or something for one of his kids, and I went along. I got invited to go, and I was standing next to them in the church thing where it was going on, and then they all started talking to me, right? And they were talking to me in Irish, but I thought they were Spanish because his partner was from Colombia and she's a Spanish speaker, and I speak some Spanish. So I started talking back to them in Spanish because I thought they were talking to me in Spanish, not Irish, not knowing that in fact they were talking to me in Irish. And oh my God, it's just a mess, Del Boy.
But yeah, I'll tell you, like I suppose I could speak obviously bits and pieces of Irish, all right, but like no, I wouldn't be fluent or anything near it. My sister is actually fluent, but I remember once when I was like, I was probably 18, 19 or something like that. And we were down that sort of part of Ireland, the West Galway, and like, Spiddle, Connemara, around that area. And I remember saying, yeah, I'll have to go into a shop or something like that. So we were traveling through and I stopped in at a shop and I went in and the staff behind the counter just blah, 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 blah. And I was just there, what the fuck did you say? I could not, for me, being an Irish man, like, I had no idea what she said. They speak so fast, down there, so, yeah, it's crazy, but it is a beautiful part of Ireland. You get all the greenery and the rocks and the cliffs and everything like that, of Ireland. So, yeah, it's a lovely area.
No, he was a lovely fella. He really was.
Mm.
So how did your interest in football first start, Del Boy, would you say?
Yeah, I suppose football, soccer, well, I hate saying soccer because the reason why we'd sort of say, it's hard to pronounce this being an Irish person. I'm sure if there's Irish people listening, they'll go, yeah, I know what he's saying. We don't say it like the Americans, soccer. We just say football as well. And what I'm saying is we have Gaelic football, you have Gaelic hurling. So, people would, if I says, oh, I'm going football or I'm going GA, that's Gaelic football. Football is football, obviously. But I'll just to, so people stop slagging me. I'm not saying soccer like the Americans, but for this conversation, I'll say soccer, right? So I'm saying football, Gaelic football. So the Gaelic football was my first love, where me and my brother are from in Roscommon. It's in the middle of nowhere. So there was no, I'm going to knock around to my mate, So what we used to do is make goals and stuff like that. And just build goals. And we used to just play football, Gaelic football all the time and stuff like that. And it wasn't then until I was sort of in school and we started to play Gaelic football, we started to play soccer, and we started to play hurling. And I loved, football, we'd say. So, this would have been the early, I suppose mid 80s to late 80s. And my cousin then, he was from Dublin, but he used to always come down any time he could, basically, down to where I'm from in Roscommon. And he was a huge Arsenal supporter. So he used to be always in, you should support Arsenal, everything like that. And Ian, right. And he'd be outside then in our front garden, and we'd be always playing football with him, me, my brother, him, and even other cousins and stuff like that. And he used to sort of introduce me to Ian Wright and, Rocky Road Castle, everything like this at the time. And I started to watch it then on telly, and I was just there, I love this. And this was like the 88-89 season when we all know the history of it. we started I started getting into it, watching Match of the Day and stuff like that when it came through on the telly, and yeah, I suppose it was around that time that I just fell in love with the sport. Um, my cousins then my cousin started to send down jerseys to me. I had all them jerseys basically from 80, I'd say 88 upwards. I used to get the hand me downs, So I used to get all their jerseys every year. They'd send down the jerseys to me and stuff like that. And then that's when I really, really fell in love with Arsenal. The 88, 89 season. That's basically how I did fall in love with football. And then I used to be training in school, and I used to be pretending I was Ian Wright at the time, Alan Smith, and stuff like that. And you'd be doing commentating in your head, and oh yes, Smith's through on goal, yes, Smith scores. And I thought I was a striker. That's the way I sort of looked at myself, because I remember I was counting goals in my head, just go, yeah, I'm on 30 goals so far and stuff like that. But yeah, I suppose that's how I fell in love with it, and how I fell in love with Arsenal was through my cousin,
So,
and he was
sorry, Del Boy, go on.
yeah, he was from Dublin, so it would have been back then in the 80s. It would have been hard to get an Arsenal jersey from where I'm from. There wasn't all these sports shop and stuff like that, so that's why once a year they'd always send the jersey down to me of Arsenal.
Fantastic. That's really nice. But so it's always been Arsenal for you, Del Boy. You never had. You didn't start off supporting another team and then think, no, I'm not. This ain't working for me. I'm going to Arsenal.
Yeah, there was probably one or two occasions where you're there. Oh Jesus, Arsenal were losing, and I had a doubt in my head, and this is why I always say to people that are not I wasn't from London. I didn't know anyone around the Highbury area or anything like that, so I had absolutely no affiliation to Arsenal. But I suppose just watching the 88-89 season and the sort of ups and downs of it, and being a young kid from Ireland, from the west of Ireland, and you're not affiliated to the club, and one day Liverpool are up high, and I'm only a kid, and I'm there, oh, maybe I want to support Liverpool, because children only want to support the winning team, the team that's going ahead. And I think Kyle even said it there on one of my streams that, it's hard living in Ireland or any foreign country that you're not affiliated to the area, let's say, to sort of stick with that. But no, once between my cousin, then he dropped back down, let's say a week or two later, and just go, "You're still supporting Arsenal?" Oh yeah. So so yeah. To be honest with you, there was no other team. Being honest with you, when you're really young, you're there thinking, "Oh, I'll support Liverpool because they were winning." But nah, it was never for me. It didn't sit right. It was always Arsenal for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I suppose to cement my feelings, 100% was when Mickey Thomas scored a goal. It was just the passion for football, alone. Never mind even Arsenal, but the excitement. I was still only a young boy, but the excitement when that scored, I was just like, oh my God, the team I'm supporting, they needed 2 goals. Mickey Thomas is after getting the second goal. We won the league. Wow, this is football. This is why I love it, and this is why I love the Arsenal.
Because that game that you're going on about, it was just incredible. The whole thing around it, the fact of what happened at Hillsborough, and then the fact that Liverpool had loads of games postponed because of it. The fact that they were by far and away at the time the best team in my opinion, in the world. They were, and they hadn't lost by 2 goals at home for something like 3 years. No one gave us a chance. In fact, some of the papers here in England at the time were putting headlines on and saying men against boys and stuff like that. And famously, George Graham stuck them up in the dressing room before the game. Yeah, he did. He stuck them up in the dressing room and said, "Right, you go out and show the press what you think about those headlines, right?"
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just incredible. It really was. From the fact that we pulled it off, and Paul Merson, I've heard Paul Merson saying that on the way up to Liverpool, like some of the team didn't even think that we were going to win, like him included. He was going, "I didn't think we had a chance," and he said we wouldn't have had anywhere near the amount of success we did if it hadn't have been for George. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it,
And like even like my sort of memories of it was like you have to think about this was 89, okay, May 89, when especially in Ireland there was hardly any, like where I was from, there was hardly any sports shop. It would have been miles away for me to probably Galway City would have been, which would have been about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive at the time, bad roads and stuff. Um, to even go and get a jersey and stuff like that. But this was 80s back in Ireland. I don't know what the UK was like, but the money wasn't flush back then, and people were like, like every paycheck was living by it. So to buy an Arsenal jersey was on it wouldn't have been fairly high up in my parents' list at the time, but they were only young, so you can't blame them. But I just remembered that the night of the match. So basically, we had two stations in Ireland. You had just two stations, basically. Now, they didn't show the football, but just on some nights, you used to be able to get BBC. I think it was BBC, UTV, or something like that. And on this night, I think the match was on the telly. I don't know what it was, or look, come here. It could have been a week after the match. I don't know. I was so young. But I just remember I didn't know the result at the time. Did BBC do live games at the time?
Yeah, they did a special.
Or was
I
it
think
was
it was
it
a
ITV?
Friday night. I think that night when we played them, I'm sure it was a Friday night, and it was live on TV
Yeah,
because it
that's it.
was all the other games that in the season been played and were finished. Right, it was the last game of the whole season. The two sides going for the title, going head to head, and I just don't think it's ever going to happen ever again. Like whoever won, Arsenal, if they won by 2 clear goals, would win the title. Otherwise, Liverpool would win the title. It's like a cup final for the title. It was just mad. I've never
Yeah,
seen anything like it before or since.
and
So
like as I was saying, we only got two channels, but it was on that night then that this game was live. That you know, I, I was just going. There's something here telling me to support Arsenal because, it was probably 3 or 4 nights of the year you'd get BBC or ITV or something like that at the time. So I was lucky enough to actually just be able to see the game because back then there was no YouTube or Sky Sports or anything like that. To watch repeats whenever you wanted. So yeah, that's how I remember that, watching that game and being in my front room in me old house and just running up and down pretending I'm Mickey Thomas.
exactly, because it was mad. Delboy, there's a question here. I was wondering if you could answer for
Yeah.
the Arsenal 49. And he wants to know what name you've got on the shirt behind you.
Is it the Arsenal shirt or the one that's on me? Is it?
No, I think he's on about the Arsenal shirt behind you.
No, I don't have a name on it. I have a blank. I never used to like getting names on it. And if he's talking about this, because he probably seen it when I was getting the hurl there. It's just, this is a gift. This is, do you know what? I keep having to explain myself about this badge because Warren, you probably know that looks like the Rangers badge. It's not. Trust me, it's not. And fun. I'll tell you a little story about that today. But no, sorry, it's a gift from Brazil. It's Flamenco is the team. This is Flamenco from Rio de Janeiro, and I have an employee that works for me. He went over to Rio de Janeiro for Christmas time. He we sort of had organised it for him so he could get home and see his kids and stuff like that. So he was delighted, and what he done was he bought me this jersey and he just put my name, Derek. I don't know if you can see it.
Bless. That's
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah, Derek number 10. He was just there. Look, thanks a million for letting me go and stuff like. But like it was nothing. It was Christmas time, and of course he has to go home and see his family and stuff like that. But that's what's on this jersey and on that jersey on all my Arsenal jerseys. I never got one name on the back apart from Fabregas, and I had it on a jersey. It was a sort of a special edition. It was kick racism out of football. One side of the shirt was black and the other side was white, and I had Fabregas on the back at the time. But yeah, apart from that, I never do get names on my jerseys.
Right. Okay. I have to be honest. I don't either because I just never bothered to do it. Really. I don't know why. There's no particular reason, but I just never done it. So that's really interesting. The story you told about how that goal sealed it for you. The second goal, the Mickey Thomas one. That goal was such an iconic moment in the history of the club and all the rest of it. So yeah, that's great. So I was going to ask you about what made you want to support Arsenal, but it sounds like it was a slow burn, and it just suddenly all clicked into place when that goal went in.
Yeah, and like when I say that, it was just because you even said it there. Like Liverpool were just one of the best teams at the time. They were just outstanding. They were but the best team probably in Europe at the time. And as a kid, and I keep saying this, it'd be different if I lived out, in London, and you're there, right? Well, I'm from London, and I like Arsenal. You know what I mean? But I could have supported Barcelona. I could have supported PSG. Why England? I could have looked at a different league. But no, it was just sort of, it was always in my head. And at the time, I was always looking out for Arsenal's result. And then once I seen that game live, and I was cheering for Arsenal, that's what it was. That goal sealed it for me.
No, definitely, because it was amazing, and it's just amazing for me to hear you talk about Arsenal like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know the support in Ireland that Liverpool have got, that United have got, that Celtic have got.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It's just, it is incredible. It's
so
like going to see Ireland play. It's like going to watch Celtic play with all the tricolours and all the rest of it. You know what I mean? It's just crazy.
It's. I remember then when I moved up then in 1995. Yeah, 1995. That's when I moved to Dublin then, and yeah, everyone, it was United or it was Liverpool, and that's the way it was. There was no Chelsea supporters. There was no Man City supporters. I remember actually there was one fella who supported Nottingham Forest, and the only reason why I knew that was because I used to see him wearing the jerseys. But he would have been a bit older than me, and I just remember him walking around with the Nottingham Forest jerseys. But yeah, funny enough, when I moved onto the road in Dublin, where I'm from, my mate, let's say up the top of the road, he supported Arsenal as well, him and his brother. So it was always me, him, and his brother on the same team, and we used to play football in the little pitch beside, well, the little greenway beside us, and we used to be always well, I suppose back in '95 we didn't have the best team in the world.
Yeah. But I guess that as well probably was to do with the fact that that team that we were talking about last Friday in the 79-80 season, at that time we had about 7 or 8 Irish players, if you count in the boys from the north of Ireland as well, in the squad. So it was very, very Irish influenced, Arsenal at that point. So that probably had something to do with it as well. But I just find it, I think it's great because here, when I was growing up, it was around where I live in Kent. You'd find Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, Manchester United, Liverpool. But if you went up to the north or the Midlands, you'd just find people supporting the local team. You wouldn't see people walking around with London-based club shirts on. That's why it staggers me that Arsenal now, we've just got this huge global fan base. Like, because in those days, you walked into a sports shop, say, I don't know, in Birmingham or Manchester, you wouldn't be able to get an Arsenal shirt. They just laugh at you if you said, "Yeah, I want an Arsenal shirt."
Like that.
Do you know
That's
what
funny
I
enough.
mean?
Funny enough, you say that because, like, I think I'm very good at the years now. In 1996, we went over for Christmas time. We went over to Birmingham, to my auntie's house, and she has kids the same age as us. And I remember at the time, I think I was there. Yeah, look, Dad, can you buy me an Arsenal jersey and stuff like that? Like, because I was in England and I just go, yeah, I'm in England. I'm gonna get an Arsenal jersey here in every shop you go to, like. But yeah, I remember going to Birmingham and all they had in the sports shop was a Wolves or Birmingham City, Aston Villa or West Brom, and that's the only jersey they sold. I was there for fuck's sake. I'm not going
Exactly,
down that
man.
road.
That's what it used to be like.
Yeah.
And if you try to get a team from another club, they're just like, "What? What do you want that for?" It was mad. It really was. But
Go
so
ahead.
so when you were growing up, then I mean, because it sounds like it was a bit tricky, sort of getting to see the games, because it sounds like you were like it was a bit hit and miss if you could get to watch the games on TV. So how did you sort of follow the games and
Yeah, so I'd say it was then probably about 1991. That's when we went to Europe, wasn't it? Yeah, what they used to do is then the Irish television sort of started getting their getting games basically. So they were able to show the European games, all the European games. So I was able, so sort of from, I think it was the 91 sort of era, there was a lot of European football and it was every Monday night, even like, there used to be Italian, it was like the Italian match of the day and on Irish television. It used to be on every Monday night. And back then, like, I used to like it, like, the Italian league as well a bit. And obviously AC Milan, you know, back in the early 90s, you know what I mean? What a team they had. And I used to like them as well. But my number one team was Arsenal. But we used to get the European games, and then the weekend, then um, you used to be able to get sort of match of the day. We used to be able to get that then. When it was more than two channels, you used to be able to then get like the BBC and ITV much more easier. So I used to watch. Now this would have been the early 90s, so I used to watch Match of the Day as well. And then as I moved into Dublin, then it was grand because I used to be able to get loads of the channels. And I remember, like, I'd say from 95 onwards, I used to. It was just like going to mass. You used to watch all the. I used to watch all the Match of the Day. I used to miss one game at all, not one. Like, on Match of the Day, every game, every goal, stuff like that. And it sort of went on then from there, and just my like, just really getting into football, and you're only a sort of young teenager then, really trying to play football as well yourself. And I was also playing Gaelic football and hurling, and I used to do boxing then as well. So I used to be really fit and doing three, one, two, three, four sports at a time.
wow? So you were very fit then, young man at that stage, Del boy.
Yeah, I would have been fairly fit, like, and like even back in when I did live in Roscommon, there was no one really to sort of drop you around to training and stuff like that. I used to cycle to train, and some days, on one or two of the days, let's say Gaelic football would clash with soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. So you'd have to go from your Gaelic training over to your soccer training. and there'd be like, you'd be cycling and training, and then next thing cycle home again. You used to be bleeding wrecked, but look, it got you fit, got you super fit, to be honest with you.
No, exactly,
Mm.
exactly. So, did you go and watch matches though in Ireland, like in the League of Ireland or anything like that?
Yeah, I like right. This is me. I was only yeah. This is my I do watch the League of Ireland because like I love Irish football. As in like I want my country to do well and stuff like that. Like it can be anything, not even football. It can be anything. But I do watch the League of Ireland. I suppose Shamrock Rovers would be, like I like them, and I've gone to a few of them. But I'm in a predicament now. Is like I love my Friday night show, and that's when Irish League of Football is on a Friday night. It's like that's like they try to use their head because everyone will be watching the games on a Saturday in the English Premier League and the Championship and stuff like that.
Mm.
So what the Football Association of Ireland done was they play their matches on a Friday night, and I'm too busy with yourself and Jez and like with Kenny and the likes to be missing out and going to a match there, But yeah, with the international games, I try to go to them like as much as I can, and especially now with Zach being the age he is, he's 9 going on 10, and you know
Mm.
at that age of my life, that's when I was like started to really get into football and support Arsenal, so I don't want to miss an opportunity to bring him to a match and stuff like that and
No,
see if
definitely.
players like that he sees on the telly and stuff like that. So yeah, like my international, I suppose, football. Um, Now, not that we're any good, but it's just something I want to do for my son.
Yeah, I mean, because listen, everyone, this guy, he done this amazing vlog recently when Ireland played. Who is it?
Belgium and
Lithuania.
Lithuania, yeah,
Yeah, they played Lithuania and won 1-0, but had 4 goals disallowed. Right.
yeah, yeah, and we
And
drew two
the
all then
vlog,
with Belgium.
the vlog was amazing, and just watching it, I could see how much Zach loved being at the game and being in the stadium and stuff.
Yeah,
And it
like,
brought back memories of what it was like for me when I first started going to watch Arsenal with my
yeah,
dad and stuff. So it was really cool. And I really like the fact that you're doing that for him because I think it's important.
yeah,
And so please, everyone, make sure you go and check out those vlogs on Del Boy Gunner TV's channel. Um, there is a link in the description for this video for his channel. So just click on that and go and give him a subscribe as well, because this man has not got anywhere near the amount of bloody subscribers that he should have. He should be in thousands, not hundreds, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. But
absolutely. Thank you.
you know, it's a brilliant that vlogs that you did, mate. They were fantastic. I loved them.
Like the way that I like, I have a daughter as well. Like, she's 14, and then Zach is my middle boy, and then I have a younger boy as well, Jake. And like I always tell people, look, just enjoy your life because you've only one, and no matter what, I always try to look at the positive side of life and like go from there. But they don't call me Del Boy for nothing either. You know what I mean? I am a bit of a wheeler dealer, chancer. Let's go for it. But my daughter would be the opposite. She'd be no. These are the rules, and we have to sort of follow them and stuff like that. And I just go, where there's a rule, we can bend it a small bit. Don't worry about it. And I always believe this is my personal. Like, don't be like looking at me as if it's set in stone. But where there's a human involved, an error can be made because we have human error. So when we were at the game for the first game that Ireland played, and it was the Belgium game, I got tickets at the last minute. It was pretty tricky to get because like the Belgium national team are the number one seeded team in the world. Like so it'd be a sought after game. So there was plenty at the game. But I was saying to my daughter before the game, we're going to get Thierry Henry's autograph. And she was there, will you stop? There's no way you're getting Thierry Henry's autograph. And I says, I'm telling you now, we're going to get it. And next thing she was there, yeah, right, no way you will. So I says, all right, grand. I says, look, I'll bend the rules and I'll do what Del Boy does best, yeah. So we got the tickets, and I think the morning of the match, I had to go and collect them off a fella. And so I hadn't a clue where I was on the ground. I didn't know. I could have been right beside, sitting next to Thierry Henry. I didn't know. But got to the game anyway. And next thing, we were behind the goal, up in the sky. And I was just there, Jesus. We're in a sticky situation here. And, I don't think we'll get Henry's autograph. But look, it's not by a will of trying. So basically, we sort of scammed our way down as far as, where the where the substitutes and the manager and all is. We just got to that sort of area where all the stewards were and stuff like that. So next thing we were coming through, and I was pushing Zach through. Right, come on, let's go. And the steward stopped us, and he says, "Sorry, you need a ticket. You need a special band, wristband or whatever, for this area." And I just went, "Here, mate. I've my young fella with me, right? He had his little poster done up, right?" I says, "Look, he's a big, huge Arsenal fan. He's a Thierry Henry fan. He loves Thierry Henry. He just wants to go down and see if he can just get a picture on his phone of Thierry Henry, and then we'd be back up." And your man just goes, "Right, go on, go for it, go for it." So happy days, right? So they had this netting over the seats right behind where the substitutes were, right behind it. So I just got the netting and just pushed it down to the next. So there was 2 seats available free. So me and Zach sat in the 2 seats, said nothing. No one said anything to us, right? So it was there, happy days. The game started. I was there, lovely. We're away with this, So then Zach had his little poster, Thierry Henry, Thierry, love you, or fucking something like that. And few of the doctors and the medic on the Belgium squad actually seen the sign. And one fella sort of nodded over to me, and I said, "Yeah, nice one. I just hope he just can even give it to Thierry Henry and just get him to sign it." So next thing, half time comes, Henry was down the tunnel with the team and sort of stuff like that. That's fair enough, And then the team were coming back out, and then Sambi Lakonga was on the bench, and he comes over onto the bench, and I go, "Zach, run down," because Zach had his little Arsenal jersey on, and says, "Here, Sambi," and he looked up and he seen the Arsenal crest, and he grabbed the pen and he signed the jersey for him. So I was there, fair play to him, very nice of him, And then at the end of the game, I was there, "Oh, come on," and we were holding the sign up and stuff like that. And the medic fella walked up to us, grabbed the sign, walked right over to Thierry Henry, and he just he was whispering in his ear. And next thing, Thierry looked down at the sign, and then he looked over at us, and I nearly melted him. You see, oh my God, Thierry Henry can see me, And Zach nearly had to hold him up, and he just nodded. He gave us the thumbs up, and he signed his name, and then he just walked down the tunnel, and your man came over and handed us the sign, and I was delighted more than anything, but Zach was over the moon. It was just unbelievable. It was great.
It's an amazing story, mate. It really is, and it's something he's gonna carry with him for the rest of his life. Bless him.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean. It's just amazing.
Yeah, because being he was starstruck, because Thierry Henry, I always sort of showing him the Invincible team, and stuff like that on YouTube, and Thierry Henry, how good he was, Bergkamp, how good he were, just stuff like that, and for him to see, oh my God, there's Thierry Henry, he'll have about 4 or 5 players that he absolutely idolizes, and Thierry Henry is one of them, and to get his autograph is just it's brilliant to be able to do, and to be there with him as well was excellent.
So, Del Boy, moving on from that, because that story is amazing, and I love the fact that you're trying to go to international games all the time, and you get to watch League of Ireland games as well, and things like that. But have you ever lived in the UK? And when you did you used to go to games on a regular basis at Arsenal, or have you always lived in Ireland?
No, I've gone to loads of matches, and I'll sort of start with I lived in Miami for only a few months, I lived over in Miami. What I done was when I was serving my apprenticeship to be an electrician, me and my mate always says that we'll save up as we're doing our apprenticeship. We'll save up a few quid and we'll just go to Miami and just drink it dry. So that's what we done. I went over with 12 grand in my back pocket and we lived in a penthouse in Miami, just off Miami Beach, up on top, smoking Cuban cigars nearly every day, you know.
Fair play to you, mate.
Living it up, like, you know, because we like back then you were always hearing people's going to Australia and they're gone off and they're traveling and stuff like that. Whereas me and me mate, we decided to stay, get our apprenticeship, be an qualified electrician, and then once that happens, then we'll do a bit of traveling. But we just as we'll go to Miami with our with our savings, and we'll just stay there for as long as we can, and that's what we did, and then came home. But anyway, I remember my first time to Highbury. It was 1998, so the 98 season. My first game would have been, I think it was against Villa in Highbury, and I think we bet them 3-1 or 4-1 or something like that. But it was back then. It was just like the year that we won the double. You know, what a team! Anelka playing, Ian Wright. You know, man, I remember arriving in at Highbury, and I was just blown away. I just could not believe that I was there. I would have been about 16 at the time. So I was just at odds at like, you know, when you look at Highbury Force where the steps are and all that. Just looking at that, I must have taken about 10 million pictures just of the stadium like that and stuff like that, and just loads of pictures of myself and asking, because you know back then it was the disposable cameras, you know, so I was getting loads of people to take pictures of me, and I was actually there with my cousin who was the one who sort of pushed Arsenal towards me, you know, and it was great to be there with him, and spend the day around the stadium and stuff like that, and like it was just at the time, it was just the best stadium ever. I've said it before. I love stadiums like Highbury. You're in on top of the pitch. You know what I mean. You're making the fans are surely letting the other players know what they're about. You know what I mean, and putting the pressure on them. Yeah, it's great. You know, it was absolutely great. But I've been to a few other games as well. I was at a Portsmouth game, I think, in the '99 or 2000 season. I was over there definitely in 2000. I went to, I think it was an Everton game. And then my first time in the Emirates, I think it was about 2008. It was because I'd done a bit of traveling, and I was sort of, at the time, I was studying to, like, you know, going through college, and I couldn't get over to the UK as much. But yeah, I remember coming to the Emirates, and it was Everton. I think it was in the semi-final, or no, it was quarter-final, where we bet Everton of the FA Cup. Sorry, we bet Everton, and I think Mikel Arteta got a penalty, and he actually scored it. Now I remember recording it at the time, so if I do find it, I'll just post it up on my YouTube account for the crack, you know. But yeah, he scored that day, you know. But then, like, that was my first time in the Emirates, and it was just from being at Highbury coming to the Emirates, I was really let down. It was just I don't like, now that's just me. It's just my opinion. I just don't like stadiums that their stadium goes back eventually. I'd rather just the way Highbury was, in on top of you, you know, and that's the way I love it, you know. But yeah, look, the Emirates is a lovely stadium and stuff, but it was just a mad change from, you know, from Highbury, from what I remember Arsenal, to go to the Emirates then a few years later, and I sort of see that. I don't know. Did you ever feel that actually?
I don't particularly like the Emirates.
Mm.
I don't, and I've got a similar opinion about it to what Jez has. And do you remember a guy? Well, you probably do know him. A guy by the name of John Lydon. He was in the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Right. he grew up all around Arsenal, right? And he there's a clip of him on YouTube and he's like walking around outside the Emirates and he bumps into these young lads and he's giving out to them about the Emirates, saying, I don't like it, I think it's soulless. He said, how am I supposed to get any sort of connection with that place? He said, look at the bloody cannon, it's even round the wrong way, because he's pointing to, the big crest on the side of the stadium and whatnot.
Yeah.
And there's, for me, it's not the same as Highbury. Highbury, there's something magical about the place, in my opinion. It really is. And the atmosphere's not there. I remember coming home when I used to, like in the late 80s, I was going on a regular basis. I had a season ticket at one point. And it wouldn't be uncommon for me to come home from matches and have no voice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like be hoarse for like 2 or 3 days afterwards. Just get your voice back. And then it happens all over again. Do you know what I mean? It's just, the place would have been absolutely hopping. Like, particularly then, because because we were like pushing for like titles and going far in cup competitions and whatnot, the crowds, it would have been like close to capacity. And sometimes the games were all ticket and you had to queue up around the ground to get tickets and stuff like that. It was magical. And the marble halls and that entrance that you saw at Highbury with the fellas stood outside with like the hat on and the suit and all the rest of it. It's like the commissioner sort of fella.
Yeah.
And it was. And years and years ago, I worked for NatWest Bank. And I remember there was this old fella worked in there then, right? And I was chatting to him one day and he goes, yeah, I used to play for Arsenal. I said, what? Wow. I said, how come you'd never mentioned it before? I said, well, I never got in the first team. I was a reserve team player. He said, and then I left. He said, it was the saddest day of my life, he said, because there's nowhere like Arsenal. Nowhere. Yeah. He said, when you walk in that place, it's something about it. It's special. And he said, I went and played for a few other clubs, and he said it was never the same. That's God honest truth, Del Boy. This fella, that's what he told me. I remember I went with a couple of my mates. One was a Spurs fan, one was a Norwich fan. And we went out to Germany for the 88 European Championships. Right, the famous one when Ray Houghton scored that goal.
No, you don't need to tell me. Ray Houghton got the ball and he stuck it in the net.
Exactly. And I remember before we went, he called us in, the three of it, me and the Tottenham fan, because the Norwich guy didn't work with us. But me and the Tottenham guy worked in the same office together and we were really good mates. And he called us in and he said, listen, lads, he said, you're going to Germany. You need to understand that when you're there, if anything happens, the bank's going to take a very dim view of it. If you get involved in any nonsense, he said, your jobs could be on the line, stuff like that. So he said, you need to be very careful. He really give us quite a hefty warning about making sure we behaved ourselves and stuff like that. Because it was only 2021, I suppose. And then when we finished, he said, yeah, but make sure you get me one of those German helmets, he said, because I never got one during the Second World War and I want one. I just thought it was hilarious. But this fella who played for Arsenal, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So no, Emirates is a nice stadium, but it's not Highbury.
Yeah, it is like the way you said. I remember being any game that I went to, I was in the North Bank. So you know yourself what that's like. Oh man, I like that as well. My first game, I lost my voice as well. And it was just because the whole I'm in Highbury. I've been supporting this team now 10 years at the time. And I'm finally here, and I'm still only young, but I'm finally here. And yeah, I lost my voice that day. I was just singing and singing and singing. And it was great. The North Bank was just, oh man, it was just
Because it's
such a,
special. It is. It's
yeah.
special, man.
And that what I'm saying is, when I got to the Emirates, then it was just, no, there was, like, when Arsenal scored the goal. I remember the fourth, when the fourth one went in. I can't remember who it is. I must actually look it up and see, because I'll know by what game it was. But oh my god, I think I ended up nearly fucking on the clock end. You know what I mean? I was fucking jumping and dancing and everything, like, giving it loads. And oh, it was just so special, man. And everyone hugging and jumping on each other. It's great. And
Yeah.
and then to come to the Emirates when we scored a goal, it was just yay. Yeah, little jump around, and that was it. Get back in your seat, because I don't want someone to record me on a phone. But, like, you know what I mean? It was different sort of time back then. So yeah, 100%.
So, Del Boy, like being in Dublin now, is there a Arsenal supporters club or anything there that you belong to, or anything like that?
Yeah, and I'm not involved with, but I actually do go and I watch. Let's say, what I used to always do was go and watch all the Champions League games, in the excuse me, in the Arsenal Dublin supporters group. I used to always go in. And for anyone that's watching, please check out the Dublin Arsenal supporters group, because they do great things. I must say, they really do great things. And when, like, there's games on and stuff like that, it's a great sort of community. And to get involved with, like, it's great to be, like, for a foreign fan. Let's say you can go to like, I'm just thinking the Toddington there, beside the Emirates, the pub there. You go into there before a game, everyone in the pub is an Arsenal supporter. But in Dublin, if you go to watch a match, you will probably be one, two, three, maybe people in the pub will support Arsenal. So you're always alone. You're always celebrating on your own. You know what I mean? But to go to a club, let's say in Dublin, and everyone in the place is an Arsenal supporter, it's a great feeling. And I do highly recommend any Irish people that do support Arsenal go to the Dublin Supporters Club. But I want to say this, and I was on Twitter actually last night, um, and I was looking at a few old badges and stuff like that. I don't know, I forget the name of the guy's account, but there was a few Arsenal Tipperary, Arsenal Athlone, Arsenal Dublin, Arsenal Limerick, Arsenal Galway. Like, there's so many Arsenal supporters club. And let's say these fans that are in them, they're probably a bit older than me, and they've been to more games than me, but you know it just shows you how big Arsenal were. And um, what you said earlier on, Warren, about, like, back in the day, David O'Leary, Jennings, Liam Brady, Pat Rice, the list goes on, of all the Irish that were at Arsenal back then. And it just shows you that there is big support there. But nowadays, it is dying out a bit, and the reason why it's dying out is because other kids are now starting to support Man City, like, Chelsea, obviously Liverpool and stuff like that. So I'm sure Ireland is no different to other countries.
Yeah, because I remember back in the day when we won the cup in '79, like the bus tour around Islington, right? They had all the players on up on the top deck, and then over the front of the bus, there was a big Irish tricolour hanging out over the bus.
No way.
And I tried to find it on a picture of it on YouTube because I wanted to use it when I was doing my video about the '79 season,
Yeah.
but I couldn't find it anywhere. And there must be a picture somewhere of it,
Oh
because I
my God, I'd love
remember
that.
it clearly. Like, there was a
Yeah.
big Irish tricolour, because there was, like I said, 7 or 8 players in that squad, all from Ireland, like either
Yeah.
from the north or from the Republic.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So Yeah, it was amazing. And the reason I asked you about whether you go to the Dublin Supporters Club or anything was to try and get an idea for you from you about what your match day experience is like. I mean, obviously you've got the YouTube thing that you're doing now, but before that started, what what would it have been like? So when there's a match day going on?
Yeah, so we'll just say like let's say let's say when I was younger or when I was older, which sort of do you want to know? Because there's two different experiences, you know.
Okay, well let's start with the young one and then move on
Yeah,
to the older one.
yeah. As I said, so remember the guy I was telling you, he lived on my road, and he was same age as me and stuff like that. So when we were younger, what we used to do is we used to go to our local pub. Now, obviously, we were too young to drink, but you'd go and you'd get a lemonade, an orange, or whatever, like, you know, and you'd sit there watching the match, and it was great. Like, you know, oh, who are you here with? Oh, my mum and dad down there, and me being me here. Mister, can you just pretend you're me dad? Can you? Yeah, he's with me. You know, so yeah, we'd sit there quietly, but like, you know, you'd be watching the matches and stuff that because they were on Sky Sports and stuff like that, and we didn't have the whole channel or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So we weren't able to, you know, afford to pay for the rent for all that, you know, subscription and all that stuff. So that's what we used to do every Sunday or every yeah, or every time there was a match on and stuff like that. So I suppose later on in life, like, you know, yeah, good man, Alex. Cheers. um, but yeah, later on in life, then we started to go into pubs and stuff like that, like, you know, and not only him, but then, like, you know, sort of I grew apart from him, but he's still a friend, like, you know. But I'd always be with Liverpool supporters or United supporters and stuff like that, and I was sort of always on my own in the pub, like, you know, supporting Arsenal. And if the results went bad, you were fucking slagged, like, you know what I mean. You'd have your jersey on and stuff like that, but when results went right, you were always proud to wear the badge around the place.
Mm.
When it was a game like Man United, let's say half the pub, right? You'd have all the Man United supporters on one half and all the Arsenal, Liverpool fans on the other side. And then when Arsenal were playing Liverpool, you'd have the Arsenal, United fans here, and then just the Liverpool fans here. You know, so because Man United obviously they hate Liverpool, so they were always up for Arsenal then, like, you know. So yeah, it was pretty good, like, you know. But yeah, that's the way it was. But as I said then, Champions League games, I used to always go in with my cousin who supports Arsenal as well. We'd always go into the Dublin supporters group. And I remember my first time there, we were playing Roma. I think it was in the Champions League quarterfinals or something like that. Was it the quarterfinals? We bet Roma on penalties. I forget what year it was now. I can't think of the year. But we bet Roma on penalties and just went on from there. And yeah, like, you know, that was my first time in the supporters group. I was only young, but I remember then just going, "This is actually great," because, like, you know, there's a like, you know, your friends here, you're jumping on each other, you're you know, arm around each other and stuff like that, and giving it loads. And we sorry, I was just young fella just come in there and just asked me something. But yeah, so, like, you know, you had command, like, that was my first time. I'm actually in a pub where everyone's supporting Arsenal. It was brilliant, you know. But yeah, I used to go there for all the Champions League game, but unfortunately, we're not in the Champions League anymore. So, you know, but I still would drop in every now and again into the Dublin Arsenal supporters group.
Oh, that sounds great, mate. I mean, because at least you have the opportunity to mix with other Arsenal supporters. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I remember years ago, I was in Boston the night that Arsenal got to the Champions League final,
Mhm.
and right, we was in this place called Quincy Market. Anyone who knows Boston will know this place. It's just like this huge like shopping mall, and in this shopping mall they've got every different type of food that you can possibly imagine, right, in there. And I was sat in this bar watching the Arsenal Villarreal game away, and it was
I remember.
1-0 up from the first leg, and we were like hoping and praying that we were going to make it through. And I remember when Jens Lehmann saved that penalty in the last minute, I went mental. And
Oh,
there was an English couple in there, and they were from up north somewhere, and they were cheering Arsenal on as well, which is a bit weird for me because back in the day, like people from the north of the country didn't really like Arsenal. Like we weren't a particularly well-liked club. Do you know what I mean? But this young couple, they're a bit younger, so I guess they probably remember like the football that we were playing and stuff, and they were getting behind us. And this guy came over to me and said congratulations, shook my hand and said good luck in the final and stuff like that. Honestly, Del, it was amazing.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I,
And I reckon people probably heard me halfway down Quincy Market. I was shouting that loud. Do you know what I mean? It was
yeah.
crazy.
Like I remember that game well as well. I was watching it at home because my nerves were gone. It was 1-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1-0 from the first leg, and it
1-0.
was 0-0.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And then
Jens
again,
Lehmann
yeah.
like had to face a penalty in the last minute of the game.
That's right. Raquel Mace was the person, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I remember
right.
that because I remember at the time my nerves. I knew it was going to be a tight game, and I was just there. I don't want to be in the pub, and next thing we lose, I'll be like, you just don't want to be there, and I don't want fucking United supporters, Liverpool supporters coming up wrecking me head, like laughing at you and stuff like that. So I watched it at home, but the second we saved that penalty. The pub is literally, I'd say, it's about a 5-minute walk from my house, from my mom's house. I was living in my mom's. So it's a 5-minute walk. I think I ran out the door. I done an Adebayor. Remember when he scored for Man City against Arsenal? I done an Adebayor all the way up to the pub, into the pub. Yes! Get in,
Oh my God! Oh, I would have loved to have seen that. That must have been amazing.
Oh, mate, I was just unbelievable. Come here, can you give me 1 second, Warren? You want to read out a few things? I just need to just
Yeah.
grab them. 1 second.
All right, mate. So here we go. The Arsenal 49 says, this is the Irish Derek Trotter. Yeah, he is, mate. He's absolutely shameless. I'm telling you, he's a top man. Arsenal Alex says, I lived in Miami and New York. I didn't know that, Alex. I hope you're all enjoying the show and finding out about Del Boy and his love of Arsenal. He's got some amazing stories. Craig Malloy says, Del Boy, we're going to after meet up when I come to Ireland to see my family over there. I'm sure he will, mate. I'm sure he will. Man City beating Real Madrid 1-0. Wow, that's good. Craig Malloy says Highbury felt more like home than the Emirates. Highbury atmosphere was unreal. Yeah, it was, mate. It was absolutely superb, and I really enjoyed it before the seating went in. Arsenal, the North Bank, to be honest. Yeah, it was incredible. Because I used to stand on the North Bank. That was where I had my season ticket and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. So Clem says, all right, Warren, mate. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, buddy. I hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. Craig Malloy says Man City beating Real Madrid 2-0. Jesus, blimey. There you go. Del Boy, Craig Malloy says, when I come over to Ireland, I'm having that Thierry Henry autograph. Yeah, but what he didn't tell you was that Thierry Henry signed it Arteta out. Isn't that right, Del Boy?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's. So next thing I was going to talk to you about is well, it's one like really random question. Well, I think it's a bit random anyway. So, looking at modern football these days, Del Boy, what do you think can be done to improve it? Like rule changes or anything like that? Is there anything particularly that you think can be done to improve the game?
Yeah, well, I suppose get rid of VAR. It sort of ruins the game for me. I just think that you know the the goal celebrations and stuff like that. I just think you're there. Is it a goal? Is it not a goal? Do I celebrate now? Do I not celebrate now? Stuff like that. Sorry, just 1 second. I just need to.
Yeah. D Arsenal 49 asked, have you ever walked through Highbury since it became flats? No, mate, and I don't think I could do it. I'd get really upset. I really would. It's just that I've got so many memories from that place, and I've got a really strong emotional connection to Highbury. I just don't think I could handle walking through it. I think I'd break down. To be quite honest, I'm finding it difficult to hold it together now, just even thinking about it, to be frank. But anyway, yeah, sorry, Del Boy, what was you saying?
Yeah, sorry. What was the question you were just saying there? The random question you were just saying.
Yeah, no, it was about what you thought could be done to
Yeah,
improve modern football.
with VAR, I just think it sort of balances itself out, through the season. And I'm not mad on it, you know what I mean? Because you're just there wondering, is it a goal? Is it not a goal? Stuff like that sort of does my head in, with VAR. Um, I also like they go down too easy nowadays. It was always good back in the day when you seen a good tackle going in. Obviously, nothing to break anyone up or anything like that. You don't want that to happen, but it's just footballers now are too soft. It does me head in, it really does. And I hate the sort of cheating wise that they're bouncing around the ground and they're, you know, diving and like Neymar the way he goes down, stuff like that, it wrecks my head. Um, I like the good old days where there was an honest tackle put in and you shake the hands then after the game and that's it. But as Roy Keane would say, they're hugging and kissing and swapping jerseys and every sort of thing after the game. It's you don't want that, especially after your team losing, and then you know you're just there looking. They're chatting away and they're hugging and high fiving and every sort of thing. You're just like going, mate, you played shit today, and you're fucking high fiving the opposition. No, and I think that's I like a team that is full of leaders, full of tough tacklers, and full of honest players, and that'll play for the badge.
No, exactly. And what I found really disturbing was what you told me when you went over for the Brighton game. And you told me how Ben White was high fiving the Brighton players at the end of the game. And we'd lost. What is he doing? Can you imagine Tony Adams if he'd seen all that? He would have gone mental.
Yeah, there's no excuse for it because you could easily just go to the Brighton team. Look, I'll give you high fives. We'll all hug each other in the dressing room and as if we haven't seen each other in 20 years. And I said Roy Keane there, and I just wanted to sort of quote a comment from him. When Pogba played, they were playing the Champions League game. He was playing against his brother, and Roy Keane famously said, he goes, the conversations that he's had today with his brother, he goes, I don't think I've had them conversations in the last 5 years with mine. They were talking so much.
No. Yeah.
And this is it. Like, before the game, they were talking, chatting, and hugging and everything like that. And then half time, they were doing the same. And then the end of the match, they were doing the exact same. And he's right. Like, especially because, let's say, if you're going to a match, you're paying a lot of money, especially in the Emirates. You're paying a lot of money for the ticket. And like, for me, I was paying flights, hotel, like, food, everything like that. It wasn't cheap, you know. And then I'm just seeing Ben White and he's fucking hugging and kissing and fucking everything like that. And I'm just there going, well, I put the effort in to get here today. I put me hard earned money into it. And you're fucking disrespecting me by doing this shit. I felt like fuck it off. I wasn't happy, and it was another thing as well. Like, and I kept on saying when I had Robbie, and when I got a hold, there was no leaders, and there wasn't fucking leaders because there was none. There's none on the Arsenal team today, because if that was if I seen that and I was not even captain, we'll just say I was on the pitch because, like as I said, I've medals for winning stuff, So, I don't have medals for winning in football, but I have it for Gaelic games, which are a tough sport. If I seen any of my players going over shaking hands and stuff like that, I would have lost the plot. Especially after losing. Like winning okay, but especially after losing. It doesn't sit right with me.
No, don't with me either. I want to ask you a question, right? You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. It's about Roy Keane, right? And during one particular World Cup, there was an incident with him and the manager at the time, and it led to Roy Keane coming home early from the World Cup. And I know that it caused quite a lot of debate in Ireland because I was working in the Irish organisation at the time, and I remember seeing a few fellas like going nose to nose over it, and got their discussions did get really heated and quite aggressive. I remember I had to pull porridge away from some fella on one occasion. But I just wondered what your opinion about it was. Do you think Roy was right to walk out, or do you think he should have just bitten the bullet and stayed? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, like, look, at the time, I was very disappointed in him. I was like, just to get into perspective what it was like in Ireland at the time. We had a civil war in Ireland in back when Michael Collins went over. He got the 26 counties back off the Queen and stuff like that. And in Ireland, there's 32 counties, so you're counting 6 counties up the north. And I'm not going to get political here. I'm just giving a quick sort of history. Michael Collins went over, like, there was a war, let's say, with the British and stuff like that. And to settle the agreement, the Queen gave back 26 counties, but she kept Northern Ireland, which have 6 counties. So that was grand. That's fair enough. And Michael Collins came back, and there was an unrest with him and Eamon de Valera, and they split up, and there was a civil war. Eamon de Valera says, you should have got everything, not just come home with 26, civil war. That's exactly what it was like in Ireland back at the time, apart from the shooting and the killing of people and stuff like that. But there was plenty of disagreements. There was fists flying and every sort of thing, like, But yeah, I thought Roy should have just went with it because he was right. Now, he was right in what he was saying. He was 100% right. It was when they were flying over to Japan, the suits, the prawn sandwich brigade, they were all in first class, and the players were in, let's say, normal class or something like that. And Roy was just there going, well, we're the sort of stars here, like, what I mean? Not that we're the stars, but you know what I mean? Like, the players are the ones going out on the pitch. Why the fuck should the guys in the suits be up there lapping it up and, in luxury and stuff like that? Then the training equipment didn't arrive on time. The training facilities that they arrived to, he says it was like a car park. He says players would have got injured and stuff like that. And like, other bits and pieces, and Roy went home. But I thought he should have stayed for it. And we could have got to the semi-final, even to the final of the World Cup back then. And people are probably there going, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Because we got knocked out on penalties by Spain. And we had Spain in extra time. We had Spain were running scared. We scored. Robbie Keane scored. Um, and we were bouncing after that. Went into extra time. I even think it's a goal. I haven't watched the game since because it it kills me. The penalties then. Mendieta scored a final penalty, and it was a brutal penalty, but he scored a winning one, and we got knocked out. And then the next game, Spain got knocked out by South Korea, which I thought Ireland would have. That was I think that was the semi-finals, and yeah, and I just thought Ireland would have beaten them, South Korea as well, because we had a great team, and especially if we had Roy Keane on, we definitely would have beaten them. He would have definitely dragged us over the line against Spain, and he would have pushed us on against South Korea as well. But yeah, that's my opinion. But look, I do agree with what Roy was saying. It was just a joke. It was what I do on my channel is it's all about the behind the scenes as well. And I always give out about Vinay and, doing stuff like that. So, Roy was right. You have to have the foundations around you built to properly proceed.
See, I remember that game against Spain vividly, right? Because I was watching it with my ex-wife in a pub in Kilburn. Now, I don't know if you know, but Kilburn is the biggest Irish community in London. Massive Irish area.
What was the name of the pub, by the way, if you don't mind me?
Jesus Christ, I can't remember. But I remember the place. It had tricolours up on the wall, and the pub, it was just full of Irish supporters, right? And when they scored that goal, I think it was Roy Keane. Well, not Roy Keane. Robbie Keane scored it. The place went mental. Like, it was beer flying everywhere, and it was just absolute pandemonium. But yeah, I remember it, and I agree with you. I think if he'd stayed, they could have gone all the way to the final. And once you get to the final, anything could have happened. Do you know what I mean? They would have definitely beaten Spain, definitely.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, Spain were like running scared in that quarter final. They couldn't handle the Irish team at all, and he would have just driven them on.
We had back then, we had Damien Duff, Robbie Keane, young players at the time, and Duffer got his move to Chelsea at a time where Chelsea were just spending millions, and he got signed from Blackburn. And Robbie Keane was doing his stuff in the other part of London there. But Roy was in the middle, and he was outstanding. He used to be able to push the team on an extra 10%.
Yeah, definitely. So we've talked about VAR and we talked about modern football. So when you were growing up, Del Boy, did you play like football games? And when I'm talking about football games, I'm talking about computer games, or when I was a kid, there were like dice games or board games that you could play as well, things like that. Did that did you get involved with all that carry on?
Yeah, I used to play the Super Nintendo, and I used to just sort of play Mario and stuff like that, but I probably played with that probably 30% of the time, but it was always football, or it was Gaelic football, or it was hurling. I used to love just getting out, practicing. And I remember in the house down the country, we used to have a big, huge side wall, I just used to be just kicking the ball off that, and practicing my skills. And it was just down to purely because, I wanted to be a footballer at the time. And, I used to be thinking your Paul Merson, your Ian Wright, your Alan Smiths, back in the day. And yeah, I used to be always practicing, and my brother would have been more into the computer sort of end of things, playing that. I'd always be annoying him, come on out and play, and he'd come out the odd time and I'd school him, but yeah, I think that's why he didn't want to come out as much, because he didn't want his younger brother beating him.
So did you play football at school though as well?
Yeah, we like, there was no soccer team in my primary school, like, my sort of, yeah, my primary school. There was only the hurling and the Gaelic football. When I went into secondary school, I was mainly just doing football, Gaelic football, sorry, and hurling. And I used to play then um, soccer for a local club, but I was never really on the teams, and because I didn't, like, I wasn't, I didn't gel with some of the players, if you know what I mean. So the boys that were there, so I wasn't into it. But with the club football, they were my mates, and, like, sort of stuff like that, and I gelled more with them, and I played better with them, and yeah, I suppose that's one of the reasons why I didn't play with the school. But in Ireland, you play school football, but your main thing was your club football.
Mm. So when you were working and stuff, did you ever like a works team or anything that you were able
Well,
to get involved with?
yeah, like what we used to do is we used to, like, let's say we used to play I used to play club football with a football team, football club, and then we used to play with our friends. Then, as I was getting older, we used to play Astro and stuff like that, like, but I forgot to even mention something. When we were in France on the holidays one year, and there was a football tournament on, and it was just random players gotten picking together and stuff like that, and I was playing. I won player of the tournament and stuff like that. And after the tournament, there was a guy who was actually on holidays. Now, at the time, he was with Grimsby Town, and he just goes, "Here, mate, would you like to come over to Grimsby Town?" And my dad said, "Fuck off," you know.
Oh
So,
my
you know,
God, excellent! I love it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because I remember that if yeah, like in the late 80s, Grimsby Town went for a really rough period, and they were like sort of down in like the third or fourth tier of English football.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure they're in the football league anymore. Grimsby Town, I think they're in the National League now.
Although, here, Warren, they would have been in the fucking Premier League if I went over.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. Oh dear me. Right, so let's see what we got here. So you played as well for like a Sunday league side or something like that, was it?
Yeah.
That's what we call it here. You go with a lot of mates and play on a Sunday and whatnot.
Yeah, and, like, as well, like, with my sort of, with my hurling, when I was playing the hurling, when I moved up then from Roscommon, and I moved up to Dublin, I was so good at that. I got trials for Dublin, actually, the county team, and my heart wasn't in it. It'd be like, let's say, you getting a trial for the Irish football team. You'd be just there, well, I'm English, why would I want to play for Ireland? You know what I mean? And it was just like that. And when I was younger, I just didn't want it. But when I was with my club football, yeah, I've won one or two trophies and stuff like that, and it was a great feeling. And actually, I think it was the semi final. Um, I had to actually take a penalty. So I've always say, and one of my best mates used to play on the team with me, and I used to play up front. And I basically, long story short, the referee kept on saying to me, "You're going to score today. You're going to score." It was the semi final of this cup competition, and it was 0-0 in the first half. And the second half, I'm tipping off, and he's coming up to me, and he goes, "You're doing brilliant. You're going to score, mate." And I says, "Oh, geez, stop putting pressure on me, messing with him, like, And next thing, the full time whistle went, and it was 0-0. So I had to go into extra time. Extra time. He kept on saying it to me, and I was there, "For fuck's sake, will you bleed and stop putting pressure on me?" So anyway, it went to penalties. Okay, it went to penalties, and, like, there was loads at the game. And next thing, the penalty kicks were taken, and it comes to me. I've the last penalty. If I score, we win, and we're through to the final. And next thing, the referee comes up to me. He hands the ball to me, and he goes, "I told you you were going to score today." I went, "Oh, for fuck's sake! You're after putting serious pressure on me now, mate." So what I was just, my nerves were gone. Like I was really nervous because there was loads at the match, loads of my mates, family, friends, and like the other team, their family, friends, everything like that. There was loads there, and I got the ball and I was looking at it, and I put my head down and I put the ball on the penalty spot, and I was so nervous. And then as I lifted my head up, and I just looked at the goal. I didn't look at it all day, like from when I was taking the penalty. And I looked at the goal and I picked my position. And I just said to myself, yeah, 100% I'm going to score this. 100%. And I even sent the keeper the wrong way. And then everyone coming flying onto the pitch, jumping on me and stuff like that. And it was such a good feeling. Now, it was only, look, a small sort of Mickey Mouse cup to people, but it was the best thing in the world to me. But yeah, it was a good day.
It sounds like it was amazing experience for you, Del.
Yeah, it's very good. Like, to have your friends that you sort of played a long, long time with and to sort of put them through and, good feeling, all right.
So I just want to go back to your younger day again now, and I'm going to ask you about who your favourite players were when you were growing up.
Yeah. Well, one that sticks out straight away, and it was like, it was I used to love Ian Wright in my earlier days, like, it was just because he was banging goals in for fun, like, at the time when I was growing up. And even him and Kevin Campbell were fairly they were okay together, like, but Alan Smith as well, I used to love, and Merson, I just used to love Paul Merson. Um, and I suppose going back to me, sort of my earlier times would have been like, David O'Leary as well. Now he would have been coming to near enough the sort of end of his day, but because he was Irish and stuff like that, he would have been well up there because he was just brilliant. I suppose for the Irish international team, I used to always love Packy Bonner and Ronnie Whelan and Ray Houghton and stuff like that as well. Steve Staunton, I suppose. I actually used to love Steve Staunton for some reason as well. Now I know like people are they're Liverpool players and stuff like that, but it we don't look at them that way when they have the Irish jersey on. You know what I mean? They're playing for Ireland back then, and look, one of the best Irish players that I love is Paul Mcgrath, and wow, what a human he is as well. He's an absolutely gentleman, and yeah, I could do a whole show about Paul Mcgrath. He was just probably one of the he's just a big hero of mine. Yeah, so I suppose I'm very biased there, but I suppose another player that I used to, as I was saying earlier on, we used to watch the sort of Italian match of the day, and it would have been Maldini. I just love the chap, and Van Basten. Oh wow, what players! Like on that Milan team, Jesus Christ! If you like football, try and educate yourself and look at that team back in the '90s. They were unbelievable, So, yeah, I could do a whole show about talking about them guys. They were just outstanding at the time. And when Ireland played in the 1990 World Cup and we came up against Italy, I knew myself we were up against it. And for what I don't even want to mention him now, but Scalacci, Packy Bonner saves the ball from Donadoni, and then Scalacci Packy saved it, and it bounced out, and he's gone one way, and Scalacci goes in the other way. Heartbroken.
But wasn't that the game where Ray Houghton scored that amazing goal against the Italians?
No, that was that was in 1994 when we played in New York, and
oh right, yeah.
Ray Houghton, he chipped the goalie at the time. He chipped it over and he scored a screamer. And Paul Mcgrath just wrote himself into the Irish history books forever with his performance. Nothing went by him. Absolutely nothing went by him. And you know yourself that Italian team they had the Milan players, and they were just such a good team. But for Ireland to beat them,
do you know something? Before that World Cup, I went to the bookies and put a £10 bet on Ireland to win the World Cup.
did you? Jesus.
Serious, I did, because in the build-up they'd had all these great results. They even went to Germany and won 2-0 in Germany, and that sealed it for me. I thought, Jesus Christ, this must be some special team, because Germany were like top team then.
Yeah,
you know, and they were a superb side, and to go there and win 2-0, I thought, no, this team's going to do things at the World Cup. So I went and put a bet on them, but obviously it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, look, you were. We should do a show about sort of stuff like that, because there was great players on that team as well. Like, unbelievable. But yeah, like Ireland back then, we qualified for the '88 Stuttgart. We qualified for the Italian '90. We qualified for the Italian or the USA '94. We had a good team then. Very good team.
I mean, Paul Mcgrath, mate, you were talking about him. It's one of the best centre-backs I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's
honestly him with Paul Mcgrath, Richard Gough, Tony Adams, Dave O'Leary, Mark Lawrenson, Alan Hansen, absolutely top draw centre-backs. But Paul Mcgrath, when he was at United, he was just unbelievable.
He was he's so underrated. Like, as he's probably in the top 3 or 4 players in the world that is so underrated. Look, we have our top players, but I'm just saying, like, there's players, I can't name them off the top of my head, but Paul Mcgrath was so underrated, it's unbelievable. Like, he was world class. He was world class, and for Irish people, he'd probably get in 90% of their all-time world 11. And I honestly can say that. I'd be pretty sure I wouldn't be far off.
What, the world 11 or the all-time Irish 11?
Irish 11, he's captain, everything like that for that. But I'm just saying world 11, I'm talking world 11 in defenders. Like, he would be up there. He'd be fairly close. For Irish people, I'm not, like, it'd be a good one between Tony Adams, Maldini, Paul Mcgrath, to get them into the centre half. I might even have to go 3 at the back, But look, it wouldn't be a bad back line, would it?
Certainly wouldn't, mate. Jesus. Yeah. Okay, so there we go. All right, so what I'm going to talk now about is, do you have these players that we've just been talking about? Have you got any stories that you want to share about any of these players that you saw when you were growing up?
Well, funny enough now, like where I'm actually from, I was just my local shop. It's only 5 minutes, not even that, up the road there. And I was there one Saturday, and I was walking in, and sitting down outside, I think it was the bookshop. I just looked and I went, "That's Paul Mcgrath." I was just there, what the fuck? And do you know what? I was about 21, 22 or something like that at the time, and I was just like, Paul Mcgrath is sitting outside the bookshop with a table, and he had a few books there, and he was signing them. But it was only early morning, and there was hardly anyone around, and I was just there going, I was talking because Paul Mcgrath, he was fond of the drink, and I was there, is Paul drunk or something? What's going on here? So I just went, Paul, what's the story? And how's it going? How are you? And I was there, oh my, I was just nearly went weak at the knees. Then I can't believe Paul Mcgrath is here and I'm talking to him. And I bought his book and he signed it for me and stuff like that. And such a nice, he didn't care what he was doing, as in, he was release of his book and stuff like that. He finally, people started to realise it was Paul Mcgrath. It was very badly advertised, just put it that way, because there would have been a big queue, you know. And he was taking pictures with everyone and signing and talking to everyone, like, you know. And he's such a gentleman. And I think Kyle knows him because he lives down near Kyle Walsh. Kyle Walsh Arsenal, for people that are watching. But yeah, he knows him, and you know, I'm sure he'll know more about Paul than me. But yeah, I met Thierry Henry not just at the stadium with Zach at the time. When I was in Miami, I was at the fucking girl that was over with me, Mrs. And we were in a shop, and next thing she goes to me, Thierry Henry's outside the door there. It was in Miami, and we were in the sports shop or something like that. And outside the sports shop was on like a boulevard sort of thing that there was loads of restaurants and stuff like that. And there's Thierry Henry's out there, and I said, "Well, they bleeding piss off! Don't be winding me up, like, you know what I mean?" And she goes, "All right, then don't." And I was there, "Fuck, what if it is, like, you know, fuck this." So this was before the handball incident, like, you know. So Thierry Henry is the king in my eyes, like, you know. And next thing, looked out the door, and there he is. I just went, "Oh man, what?" I was just there, "Thierry, what's the story?" And he was just there, "How's it going?" I says, "I'm a Gunner," and he goes, "Yeah, how's it going?" His missus was feeding the baby at the time, like, you know, and there's this bleeding Irish lunatic fucking screaming over at him, like, you know. So I couldn't go over and ask him for an autograph or anything like that. So I made me presence known. YouTube wasn't invented back then, but I just said, "Subscribe to Del Boy Gunner TV."
Exactly. Talking of which, look at that comment. Del Boy, when will you be doing a tour of your bar?
Yeah, I'll do one in the summertime. I'll definitely do one in the summertime, and everyone's welcome.
Yeah, he's going to do a walking tour of his bar. Yeah. Oh, great. So when you were growing up, were there any other players other than the ones we've already mentioned that you really liked or disliked?
Well, when I was younger, yeah. Well, Scalacci just came to mind there, and that's because he ended the dreams of the 1990 World Cup for us. So he wasn't welcome in Ireland or anything like that, like, you know. But yeah, Scalacci was a player. Didn't like him. I suppose, yeah, I didn't like Gaza, and that was just purely down to the Spurs and the, you know, I clearly that, like, you know. Funny enough, I didn't like Arteta either, and that's because he played for the other crowd up in Scotland. So I wasn't too fond of him, you know. But yeah, I suppose, who else? I wasn't mad on Shearer. I didn't like Alan Shearer. I just thought he was his celebrations were shit and boring, you know, as usual. You know.
I have to tell you, I think he's a dirty bastard.
Yeah, I just, for some reason, I just wasn't into him. Didn't like him, you know.
I've got a story about him. He stamped on a player. I can't remember who it was. And he was going to get disciplined by the English FA. And this just sums him up, in my opinion. He went into the hearing with the English FA, and he said to them, "If you discipline me," it was just for the World Cup, right? He said, "If you discipline me, you can forget me going to the World Cup." You can't turn around and say that.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know, and they backed down and let him off as a consequence.
Yeah. It's a disgrace, like, you know. Back then, like, he'd be the first nowadays to sort of, "Oh, you got to respect the badge and the club and all this shit," but you go and do something like that for your country. Not a nice person to me, to be honest with you.
No, I don't like the fella, to be honest. I know I'm sorry if there's any Newcastle fans watching or whatnot, but because I do like Newcastle, but
So do I.
do you know what I mean? But that I just thought was disgusting. I really did, you
Yeah,
know.
I do like Newcastle as well because my brother then used to support them because the run that they had, against United at that time, and Kevin Keegan, his famous rant he done as well, So yeah, I do have a soft spot because my brother does. He's not mad into football, but he likes Newcastle. So
This is a really good question, right, from Craig Malloy. What is your all-time favourite Bergkamp goal? Mine was against Newcastle away. Unbelievable goal.
yeah, wow. Look, come here. I don't disagree with Craig there. That was just unbelievable. Oh wow. But I suppose the one that stands out for me, um, he scored. Remember the one against Leicester? It went over the top, and he took it on his boot, and the whole defence went that way. Bergkamp took it on his foot, and then just curled it in the top corner. I think he bet Taggart or whatever it was for Leicester at the time. Heskey was playing up front for them. Martin O'Neill was the manager. That goal, it was just the touch. It went over his head, and he just landed on his foot. And the whole of the Leicester City defence went that way, and he went the other way. It was just a super goal. But between that and the Newcastle goal, yeah, I wouldn't have an argument with Craig over that. That was just an unbelievable skill that the guy had. I just
Yeah,
love Bergkamp.
absolutely spot on, mate. I totally agree with you. And that hat trick he scored that night
That's
was the
right. He scored the
best
perfect
hat
hat
trick
trick,
I've
wasn't
ever
it?
seen. Sorry, mate.
He scored the perfect. I think a header, left foot, right foot. I
Yeah,
think that, right, if I'm not mistaken.
it was just incredible. I've never seen a hat trick like it. It was unreal. It was
Unbelievable.
just incredible. And what a player, by the way.
Oh man, just oh, these are the players now. You know what I mean. If we had won, if you had Bergkamp today in this team, it'd be just such a difference to it.
No, it would absolutely. And so, who do you think was Arsenal's greatest ever player, Del Boy?
Oh Jesus, Jesus, no warning there. Just pull the plaster off and get straight into it. Rip it off.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh God. Am I allowed to even mention a few or just go straight for it? Which do you want?
Name a few and then go for your favourite.
I have my greatest ever team here and stuff like that. Do you want me to be mentioning them or will I?
No, not yet. Just
Yeah.
I'm going to come to
Okay.
that in a little while. But what I want you to do in a minute is just to
Oh,
name your favourite all-time player and maybe some like. Well,
Ford,
name your top five and then, but do it in reverse order. So the last one is your favourite.
oh, Jesus, Jesse. I thought your quiz was hard. Gee. Oh, God. Right. I'll get into it. I have my top three straight away in my head. I've already my top three straight away. Um. Oh God. I've my top four now, and then. Oh
And
yeah.
it helps. It doesn't. They don't have to be Arsenal
Oh,
players. So, for example, you could put Ray Houghton in there because I know how
oh,
fond you are of Ray. Yeah.
right. Well, I'll do me best Arsenal players ever. Is it best Arsenal players?
Yeah. And then later we can talk about your favourite all-time players.
Yeah. Right. Okay. That's fair. I'll go with. I just loved him since he signed with us, and just what he done, leadership and stuff like that. Um. Oh shit! Can I do his top six?
Of
Fuck
course you
me.
can.
I'll do it. I'll go with yeah. Vieira just has to be. I have to mention Vieira. I just love the chap. I love his leadership. I love everything about him when he signed for us. Oh, he was just an animal. I just loved him. I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have Tony Adams. Tony Adams, man. Ah, like he was just such a leader. Like, start like what age was he? 2021 when he was captain of Arsenal, and absolutely deserved the captain's armband back then. He was just such a leader. Um, yeah, Tony was just unbelievable. I'll put him in fifth. In I'm gonna go. I'm being biased. No, I'm not being biased. You know what? He deserves it. No, sorry. I'm gonna go Rocky just because I loved Rocky. I absolutely love Rocky. I loved his personality. I loved the way he carried himself as a human. And I just loved everything about the guy. It was a sad day when he passed away, and you know, he's just a legend to me. And I suppose that's why I'm going to put him in fifth. Um, in fourth, sorry, I done Vieira, Tony Adams. Sorry, this is me. This is me fourth. Yeah, no, Rocky's fourth. Me third. I'm gonna be biased here on this and go with Liam Brady, Chippy Brady. I just the way that he played the ball, like grace the field. Oh, just watching his old clips and stuff like that. He was like a he was like the leader of an orchestra. Like the elegance about him,
Mm.
and to do that in that era when there's Chopper Harris there was Johnny Giles there who would absolutely just go in and break your legs because you're doing this, but he was just doing things that were not even invented back in like in the 70s or something. I don't know if you'll agree with it, but I'll just continue on.
Go
Um,
on.
that was me third. My second, then I'm gonna go for Thierry Henry. Um, and look, we all know Thierry just absolutely class. He was the way that he ran with the ball. Like the keepers knew what way he was going to shoot and what way he was going to score, and he done it so elegantly and class. And then my number one, I, I have to give it to Dennis Bergkamp, and
Mm.
I just loved the way he played football. Like I remember the time when he scored a goal against Argentina, and it was another ball over the top, and he just controlled it. And I'm just like, I remember screaming at the telly. I think he actually scored from it, but I screamed at the telly from the touch. I was just how hard it is to do that, but it was just like throwing jelly on his foot. It just stuck to his foot. The ball did not move. And just to do that alone, I was screaming at the telly going, oh my God, I can't believe I witnessed that. And his goal against Newcastle, his hat trick against Leicester, his goals, his assists, he could do it all, and for me, like I forget who sent me the clips of him when he arrived at the stadium. What I think it was for the United game, and all the Invincibles were there and stuff like that. For me, when I just seen Bearcamp, I was just wow, like oh my god. And actually, my sister met him when she was on holidays in Spain one time, and I nearly had a falling out with her. I says, "You didn't get his autograph," and and it was at the time, like this would have been about, I'd say, about 10 years ago or something like that. I was gutted, and she says he was a gentleman. She goes, she met him. He was getting up from his table, finishing a meal, and she just sort of ran over to him real quick, and she just goes, "Dennis, I just want to say my brother's a huge Arsenal fan, and you're one of his all-time greats." And he was respected that, and he was just there telling thanks a million, and you know it's great. My sister's an Arsenal fan as well, and like he was just sort of gave her about 5 minutes of her time, and they were just talking, and like that that goes for me with the whole you know greatness, and like your personality as well, and your presence and stuff like that. So yeah, that'd be my top six.
Mm. Definitely. All those players were absolute legends, mate. Absolutely
Mm.
no question about it. It's just like a roll call of greatest ever players, you know?
Oh, Like, just even naming them off, Warren, the hairs in the back of my neck are standing up for each one of them. They're just like, even if people haven't seen Liam Brady, like, back in the 70s, oh my God, just watch him playing football, because back then it was like rugby. You were playing Stoke every day. It was just unbelievable. And for him, he was I suppose Georgie Best would have been up there as well. Like, the way that he played football as well was just, it was such a tough sport to play back then.
But he was such an artist.
Mm.
And I just used to love, because like I used to go and watch Arsenal on a regular basis in the late 70s. Like me and my dad, and standing there, sitting there, whatever it was we happened to be doing for any particular game, and seeing the things that he used to do. I remember one game, he had 3 players on him, and they were trying to stop him, and they couldn't. He just made mugs out of a lot of them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what he did or how he did it, but he left all 3 of them sitting on the seat of their pants. It was just an unbelievable player. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, right? But after that stream we did last Friday on your channel, right, I was sitting in bed. It was about, God knows what hour, about 11:30 at night. And I was sitting there, and it was all these memories coming back to me, and I was crying.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it, because he was such an unbelievable player, Del Boy. Honestly, I struggle to think of a player that was better than him. Honestly, and in that era, he was just on a different level. He really was. It was just incredible, and it was a privilege to be able to watch him play.
Even like Warren, actually, one thing I manage my son's football team now. People probably know that as well. But the team that we play for is the team that he got found when he went over to Arsenal. So he still sort of does hang around the club, and he'd be around it every now and again and stuff like that. I haven't met him yet, but it's only a matter of time before I will meet him. And don't worry, people, the phone will be out and I'll be recording it. People around the club as well, not even around the club, but in Ireland in general, will tell you that he's a gentleman. He'll have no problem in coming on Del Boy Gunners TV on a Friday night. I'll tell you that, with the legends.
I would absolutely love it. And honestly, if not that, I'd just love to see you have him on your channel and chat about his playing career and stuff.
Yeah,
it would be absolutely fascinating. Do you know what I mean? Just to listen.
It won't be by a lack of trying, I'll tell you that, because like I'll try and get there. Just trust me on that one. If I do get a hold of him, I'll tell him what I do and stuff like that, and I'll try my best, definitely.
No, definitely. So I'm going to talk to you a bit more about Arsenal, right? In general. So looking back over the club's achievements down the years, and there's been a lot of them, what would you say is Arsenal's greatest ever achievement?
Oh, okay. Good question. Geez, very good question. Like, obviously the Invincibles is like, the standout. Like, I suppose for my sort of time, it would have been like, able to go over, watch them. It was unbelievable. I want to even talk about the '98 season where we done the double as well. It was just the whole build up to the Invincible sort of team, the 2002. Wenger really getting into it, but like, I'm not going to be like the whole Invincibles. It was like it's unbelievable, like what the Invincible team done. But the thing that sort of overshadows it for me is the '89 season. From what they've done, Liverpool were just unbelievable. Like, they were such a good team. They really, really were such a good team. And for us to, do it on the final day of the season, 2-0 at Anfield, I don't think was good. 2-3 years or something they hadn't been beaten in Anfield, like, and we come up and we do it that day. I'm gonna sort of I'm gonna go with that. It just means so much to me, and like, I'm look, come here. We're splitting hairs here now at the minute, like, between the Invincibles and the '98 team where they won the double. But for me, it was just so special to me that I sort of, the day that Arsenal won that was the day that I fell in love with football, and I fell in love with Arsenal. And it's just been ever since, 88, 89 season. It's just been, it has been like a marriage, yeah, everyone has their ups and downs, and that's the way it is. So, yeah, that means a lot to me.
It is, and then when you factor into it as well, the fact of what happened that season
Yeah,
at Hillsborough,
Hillsborough and
and
everything.
practically the whole country wanted them to win because of what happened at Hillsborough. Do you know what I mean? They did. They wanted them all. They all wanted them to win, and the fact that they hadn't been beaten at home, like you say, for 3 odd years, the fact that we hadn't won the title for 18 years, the fact that they were such a good side, they were absolutely relentless. And to go up there, no one giving us a prayer, and the fact that we actually pulled it off, it was the final game of the season, the top two going toe-to-toe like that. It's never been seen before, and it's probably unlikely it's ever going to happen again. It was just an incredible achievement in my opinion.
For even Warren, like, it's like nowadays, it'd be like Arsenal having to go to, we'll just say, Anfield today, like, final game, like, everyone would just say they're going to absolutely slaughter us, or Man City, like, either or, pick your pick, whichever you think. But Arsenal to go to Anfield, we'll say today, and beat them by 2 goals. I think everyone that's watching this and that will watch it will say absolutely no hope. There's no hope Arsenal would beat Liverpool in Anfield 2-0. But that's what we done back then, and that's what it was like, and the whole Hillsborough thing as well. And, like, the Arsenal players beforehand and were giving out flowers and stuff like that. It was such a good touch by Arsenal, and that summed up, like, the club for me. That's oozes class. It absolutely, before the ball was kicked to do that, was just, that is class. And that's the type of person I like, as a club, I like to sort of put the cherry on the top for things, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Exactly, mate. And that was the club that I fell in love with.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And sadly, I don't think that it would have happened these days. I just don't think they would come into their head to do something like that. But that was what it was. If you could pick out one thing from the club's history that summed up the club in a nutshell, for me, that would be it. What they did that night for those Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
And, and I remember listening to Lee Dixon talking about it, and he said when he walked out onto the pitch and he handed over the flowers, he said it felt like there was this huge weight come off him as he was handing the flowers over. He said it was almost like it was a symbolic gesture, and it helped to relieve a lot of pressure off him. So, but yeah, it was class, and that's what I love about Arsenal, because that class is for me what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, as I said earlier on, it's about, like, I suppose on my channel, the way I get everyone's opinion. I don't mind, and it's just the way, it goes, and that's just the way it is.
So, Del Boy, what do you think was Arsenal's greatest ever team? So this follows on quite nicely with what we were just talking about.
Yeah. I done my homework. You gave me the
Not
question.
necessarily 1 to 11 of greatest ever 11. I'm talking about in history, all the different teams that have played. Which one do you think's the best one?
Oh, it's the greatest ever Arsenal 11.
Not the greatest Arsenal 11, just like, was it the 89 team, the 91 team, 98, 2002, Invincibles, this current team? Which I doubt. Like the team in the 30s. What one would you say?
Yeah, like I suppose the 91, God, I look, the 89 obviously I said was like, greatest moment, but like I think the 91 where there was only one game away from being invincible, and they played what 71. No, sorry, sorry. The I'm thinking of the 79-80 season where they played 71 games. But no, I think the 91 sort of where they went the whole season with only one game. I just think football was different back then. They were such a well managed team. Um, there was other teams around them that were very big. Like, I just wanted to sort of give them their sort of respect, But just because I remember it so well, I'm going to say the Invincibles, and I don't want to be a sort of I, you know, stating the obvious, but I have to give it to them. Like, they were just unbelievable. Really, really unbelievable. Like, and I know the 91 team, like, they went the whole season, one game, um, like, lost to Chelsea. They were absolutely unbelievable as well. But just for the pure fact that, I remember it so well, I'll give it to the Invincibles. I will give it to them.
See, because that team was incredible. It was just, and it wasn't helped by Arsene Wenger's comments a couple of years before when he'd said, I can see this team going unbeaten for a whole season.
Yeah.
Right? Because the problem was that people misunderstood what he was trying to say, I think. And I think a bit of it got lost in translation in his head, to be fair to him. And people thought I was just being an arrogant twat. Do you know what I mean? But a couple of times before they actually did it, we went a whole season unbeaten away from home, which in itself is an unbelievable achievement. Just the fact to go unbeaten away for the whole season away is just unreal. And then there was another year when they went quite a long time into the season unbeaten, I think, if I remember rightly. I might have got that wrong. But yeah, but to go a whole season unbeaten like that, it's ridiculous. I mean, the fact it's never been done since as well just shows you how difficult it is to do it. And the fact that we nearly did it in 91 as well, when George was manager, because that team was just, it was a joke, that team. It was just ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that team was amazing. I really do.
Just from like every position had like so much, like such a good player. They'd walk on to nearly any team today, and I really mean that. Like, like midfield, your Vieiras, Petit, Dennis, Thierry up front, Perez, Freddie. Wow, like, you know what I mean? Oh my God, like what a midfield and strike force that is.
Yeah, and the sad thing for me is when I look at that team, there isn't one player in the team today that I'd put in that
Yeah.
that team ahead of any of
Yep.
them. I
Not
wouldn't.
one.
There's only
Not
the
one.
only player that would, for me, that even get near to the bench would be Kieran.
Yeah.
Do you
And
know? But the
like,
rest of
look,
them,
yeah, like there's 100%. There's not one, not one, not one of them. And like, yeah, you're probably Tierney. Like, we had Ashley Cole at the back when he was like, absolutely unbelievable. Like, when he was coming through there. Yeah, it was just such a good team. Sol Campbell in the back, Tony. Wow, the two of them gelled well together. They were such a good team.
exactly. So we've spoken about your favourite player, which was Dennis Bergkamp, which was in that team. So I'm not going to ask you the question I asked you, which was who was your favourite player in the team, because we've already spoken about it. So what would you say was your greatest ever Arsenal team? Like 11, I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, greatest Arsenal 11 up until Arsene got appointed.
right. I'll up until right have Seaman in goal.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have Ashley Cole in left back. I'm gonna have obviously Tony Adams, and then I'm gonna put my Irish hat on and put David O'Leary. And then another curveball, my other Irish hat, I'll put Pat Rice in right back.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to respect the generation as well, like, you know what I mean? And, like, look, Pat Rice was there for a long time, and, like, he's a good servant to Arsenal, and, I respect that. And David O'Leary, like, David O'Leary, for me, was such a good player. There's a few more we could have got in there, but, you know, I just wanted O'Leary in because I'm being biased.
But
You
mate,
know,
he's a legend.
yeah,
He's
he's a,
an
he's a,
Arsenal legend, and he's one of the greatest centre backs we've ever had. And I'd love him. I'd love it if he had a more prominent role at the club now. I really
yeah.
would.
So would I. I think he should be chairman. This fucking
Yeah,
chipstick or Bulls chipsticks or whatever the fuck you call him. Like,
yeah,
who the fuck is he? David O'Leary, I think, would be, because he's a gentleman. He could represent the club so many times. He's the most capped Arsenal player ever. Who'd be better than to be chairman than David O'Leary for me?
yeah.
On my left wing, Jesus, I'm fucking loving the Irish. I have to have Chippy Brady in there, but I'm sure there's not many people that'll disagree with me there. Now, we could have had Robert Perez, but I just there now for Brady for me was up there to change the sort of the way football, like back then. You have to think about it back then what he done. Like, there was just really long ball, get it straight. He's dancing through players that wanted to actually break his legs. That's how good he was. So I'm going to give Liam Brady. He's on me. I'm going 4-4-2. So Liam Brady's on me left wing. I'm going to have Vieira in there. Goes without saying. And just like, by the way, I just wanted to mention we have Tony Adams in there, a leader. David O'Leary, a leader. Patrick Vieira, a leader. So there's plenty of people there that will absolutely kick the shit out of you if you play bad. you know,
Exactly.
that's the type of team I love. I'm gonna have a fella that I think you like this guy, Brian Talbot. I think he was fairly all right. I'll have him in with Patrick Vieira in the midfield. I think it'd be a decent centre midfield. And I'm just putting my team is sort of not only on skill and talent and leadership. It's characters that are in the team as well. I think this team would give any team in the world a good game. Um, on the right wing, I could have put him in centre, but I'm going to put Rocky. Basically down to how good he was, his character, the way he carried himself. That's why Rocky's on my team. And I'm putting him on the right wing. I was thinking Freddie. I loved Freddie. I loved his character. I just think for this team, Rocky's the man for me on the right wing. I could look Merson or other players as well. I could have put there, but I just want Rocky in it because I love him. And then up front, I just had to have the two, Henri and Bergkamp. There was Chris Baston. I was thinking Ian Wright didn't make me team because of his fucking shit that he fucking all this his character doesn't lead into my team. I don't like that. Let's get the merch. Come on, people. This is a team. We're just going to win, Ian. Shut the fuck up, right? We want to win. That's all. We don't want your character in it. We just want to win. So for me, Henri and Bergkamp up front, and that's me greatest ever Arsenal team.
Yeah, that is an amazing team, and I have to say about Wright, I loved him as a player. I really did.
So
but what I didn't like was the fact that he was always getting in trouble with referees. And it really pissed me off. And I remember having arguments with people about it. I was going, look, he's a great player, great goal scorer, but we can't be having someone who's going to be out of the team for 10, 15 games a season because he's constantly being suspended all the time because of his behaviour. It's a problem. So I agree with you, and I just think Henri was better anyway.
Simple fact. Henri, and you have to have Bergkamp there with him.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then post Arsene Wenger, have you got a greatest 11 for that as well?
So, I suppose this team is I wanted to put in honorary welcomes plus players that I thought were good enough for the team. I think it's a good team. Some guys might go, "You're joking me," but I'm gonna say it. And the reason why I have this fella in goal, look, I could have went Seaman, but I have him in my greatest ever Arsenal 11, David Seaman. So I just think, you know what? I think this fella deserves a shout out. John Lukic. I thought he was back in the day. He was such a good keeper. He was involved in one of my favourite teams for Arsenal, the 89, 88, 89 season. So I had to put him in, being honest with you. And look, I think deservedly so. Look, we can say David Seaman as well, but I gave Seaman and me greatest all time. So I just says, look, I'll give John Lukic a shout out. Now look, Pat Jennings, we Bob Wilson, we could go there, but I just wanted John Lukic in. I'm gonna go in right back. I'm gonna go Dixon, Lee Dixon. I suppose. Look, I'm being biased now with me 89 season. I have to give him a shout out, and I think he deserves. He was a good servant for Arsenal as well, and he was a part of the famous back four. So I'm gonna put Dixon in. Obviously I have Adams in there Tony Adams in centre. And I went for this, and I'm not sure. Well, no, I am sure, but a player that I actually loved, and the reason why I actually like him is by listening to you, Jez, Kenny, is Frank Lintoff. I just think he was a great leader, and just sort of looking at his videos of him and stuff like that, I have to put him in. I don't know. What did you think of him?
What, Frank McClintock?
Yeah.
I never ever see him play, mate. I was too young.
Did you ever see any clips of him around?
I have to admit, I never ever saw Frank McClintock play, but I've heard people talking about him, and I've heard all the stories about what a great leader he was and stuff like that. So yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you because he is another one. He was a leader, but he he personified that business about the class of the club as well. That's what I've been told. I mean, but I can't really comment on it because I never ever saw him play. But you
Yeah,
know, and Dave O'Leary carried it on, and that's why I want him involved in the club because I think it's really important. If they want to get the culture of this club right, the best thing that they can possibly do is put David O'Leary in charge of doing it.
yeah,
In
yeah,
my opinion,
yeah, yeah.
because he knows the club inside out. Do you know? As far as he lives and breathes, and if you cut open his body, it would bleed Arsenal.
Yeah,
That and for me, it's so important. And they're going banging on about this culture, that culture, this culture, that. Get David O'Leary to head it up. If they're
yeah.
so concerned about it, get him to do it. Don't get a consultancy company. You don't need to get a consultancy company.
Oh,
Get David O'Leary in, and then get him to get Jez and Kenny Ken to come and help him. And there you go. That's it. That would be my culture team.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I
And
mean? And yourself as well, being a foreign fan. Do you know what I mean? It's common sense.
but
We
see,
don't
this is the
need
thing.
consultancy. What do these people know about Arsenal Football Club?
Fuck's sake. It's just the way the world is going, isn't it? Like, I'll get a like, ask me fucking arse. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's ridiculous. I'll go on. I could go on about that for another while, but we'll go on here.
yeah. Go on.
So I'm going for a 4-3-3. So in midfield, then I'm going with Rocky again. Okay. I'm going with Brian Talbot, your mate. But here, look, do you know what? When people tell, but when the likes of you, Jez, Kenny, and all, like other people tell me about players, I always look into it, to be honest with you. Because I'd be there, what are they talking about that I don't know? And I try to research it, I try to get YouTube videos, or I try to read about them or stuff like that. And that's why I had Frank Lintoff in the set with Adams, is because you just hear about his leadership qualities, like tough tackler, stuff like that, and you know looking into like Brian Talbot as well, like and after you talked about him, and I know that you love him, and yeah, look, why wouldn't he be on my team? So I have Talbot, I'm going Rocky, Talbot, and then Liam Brady. The three of them in the midfield. And then I'm going to go with sort of me three up front. And I, I suppose it's a 2-1 up front, right? And you know what I mean there was Charlie George, I'm going to say, and Cliff Baston. Because I read it about Cliff Baston. He used to I think he was coming in from the left-hand side, if I'm not mistaken. Jez is probably there shaking his head with his wine, going, "You fucking Egypt, Del." But sorry, Jez, I'll change him around with Charlie George then. But the two of them, Charlie George and Cliff Baston, and then up front I'd have Alan Smith. So the two of them boys feeding Alan Smith, I think you'd get 1 or 2 goals a season out of them anyway.
Excellent. And that's really that again. That team was just amazing, mate. That you've just reeled off. Like
Yeah.
And it is. And
Like even
there's nothing I can add to that.
With Cliff Baston, like when I was at the Emirates there only a few weeks ago now, and I looked up about Cliff Baston because I remember like Giles was talking about him and stuff like that, and I looked at him and I looked at the history of him while I was there, and he was only a young fellow when he signed. He was only 2021 when he signed for Arsenal. I think he was probably younger actually, but like the goals he scored from, like he was our all-time scorer for how long before Ian Wright broke the record? Like for years and years, and you don't hold records like that if you're not that good. So, by reading into him what he was about and stuff like that, and especially back then, it was even tougher to play, I'd say, than in the 70s. So yeah, that's why he's my team.
Yeah, because the ball as well was heavier, and
Yeah.
like if you got hit
Football
by the
boots,
ball,
everything.
you'd know about it. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, your football boots and everything like that. It was so
Yeah,
hard, like, but fair play.
yeah. So now the next thing I was going to ask you about is who would be in your all-time Arsenal five-a-side team?
This was a tough one, but oh yeah, right. I went in a formation of obviously a goalie, and then I have two at the back. I have a centre midfielder, and I have a striker. And I suppose, the reasoning behind this one is because we needed something solid at the back. So me goalie and me two centre halves have to be rock solid,
Mm.
and then you know they have to be able to gel well and play well together. So this is the reason of it. There could have been a few players that I could have said, well, I would have put him there, but I'm sort of going with centre halves that gelled well together, and then I need a solid midfielder who can, you know, just no nonsense midfielder, and then I need someone to score a lot of goals. So I went for David Seaman in goal because safe hands were in safe hands. Um,
Yeah,
I like look. We could argue here for hours and hours about the two centre halves that you're going to play together, and one of them is obviously Tony Adams. The other was really hard to pick because I wanted someone that played well with Tony. Look, Keown played well with him. Sol Campbell played well with him. But I just think you're probably going to shake your head. I'm just going to go with Steve Bold, right? And I haven't mentioned him at all, but I just think that they played well together.
mm.
You
He
know,
did.
yeah, and that's the only reason why it's not about the best. He's not me best ever, and he hasn't been in me best ever. I'm just O'Leary, Adams. Right, they didn't play that much towards the end of O'Leary's reign, let's say, and I wanted someone that was like a solid back four, because I'm only very short for positions here. In midfield, I'm just going to go with Vieira because he's Vieira. Now you can see what I'm doing there. I'm Seaman, safe hands in goal. Adams and Bold played well together. I have a five-a-side team here. I want no messing around. I want to defend it. I want it straight back out to Vieira, and Vieira was pretty alright at passing the ball as well. So who else would you want up front? You're going to think I'm going to say Bergkamp. I'm not going to say Bergkamp just for the pure goals is Thierry Henry. He scored more goals than Dennis, and this is a five-a-side team that has no fucking nonsense at the back. It's no nonsense in the middle of the field, and it's just giving the ball. The whole goal of my team is get the ball to Thierry and he'll score. So
Mm.
you know that's why it's a five-a-side, and people are probably there. Well, you didn't have him in your best all-time 11. Of course I didn't, because I'm just talking about in my back 11. I had Adams and had O'Leary, but I just think Steve Bowl and Tony Adams. There's no messing. They played well together. They were a good back two, in the centre, and Paddy then in midfield. I don't think many will disagree with me there, and Thierry up front.
Exactly, and five side's a different game.
Yeah,
It's-
completely different game. Completely
And
different.
what I like about that team is that if it kicked off, they wouldn't have been found wanting, would they?
Yeah, yeah.
If it turned into a scrap,
Yeah.
then
That's exactly it. Yeah, yeah. You're sorted there, that's why I had the tough tacklers, and Vieira, everything that little diamond there, I'll tell you,
yeah,
you don't want to
exactly.
mess around with them.
So, um, who do you think was Arsenal's greatest ever manager, and why do you think that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I suppose everyone was probably thinking, yeah, look, we've Wenger and stuff like that, but I'm just going to go with George Graham. And the simple fact is that I thought Wenger should have known his time to go. And look, I do like Arsene Wenger. I'm not going to lie. I do like. I just think he's a gentleman and stuff like that, and a bit too much of a gentleman. Um, he should have known his time to go. There was he he stuck out too long. You know, he shouldn't have stayed that long, and it ruined his career. You know what I mean. Towards the end, it ruined his reign. The first half of his season, he is without doubt one of the best managers ever at Arsenal. I just think with George, he had the class. He got Arsenal. He played for Arsenal. He got what the club is about. He, you know, the '91 team that nearly went under, was nearly an invincible team. You know, the '89. The European Cups. He did do a lot. For Arsenal, and I think without him, we probably wouldn't. Well, we wouldn't have been the Arsenal we are today. We wouldn't have had. We wouldn't have had I don't think Arsene Wenger would have came. I think we would have been sort of flying around the mid tables now. Without George, he built up that sort of solid foundation to go on and build Arsenal into, well, I suppose the third biggest team in England today. You have to say thanks to George, and the way that he brought the 90 or the 89 season, the team together. He was at Millwall for a while at the start, and he brought what was his assistant's name? Can't think of it. Going over my head. It'll come to me in a minute. Um, yeah, I just love George Graham, and I suppose, look, I'm probably being biased to some people as well because it was the time that I started supporting Arsenal, and it's one person you always look into is who's the manager of the team, what way does he represent the team? He represented Arsenal for me as class. I'm not 100% sure. You may correct me if I'm wrong, but he, was it his idea to bring the flowers out? You know, um, at Anfield that time. You know, George got what Arsenal was. And yeah, I'd have to go with George for me.
Because you look at it, Arsene Wenger inherited that back four that George made. George created that back four,
Yeah,
and he built all his success off those foundations. So all Arsenal's success came from the foundations that George had laid. Well, that's what I think. That's my opinion of it. And I remember listening to Paul Merson talking about this very subject, and he said George as well. And he said that Arsenal wouldn't have had half the success they had without having George.
yeah.
He just said he was.
Like as you says there, Warren. Like you think about, let's say, a manager nowadays, right? Um, Coming into a team and having a back four, well, a back five, because you count David Seaman as well. A back five like that. Your job is instantly not made. I'm not saying it's made easier, but by Jesus Christ, like who doesn't want a rock solid defense like that and a goalkeeper like that? And then you just have to concentrate and right. I just need a few players here and there, and I'm off. And George did build that, he did. And I agree with Jez as well about Chapman because when I was in the stadium, I did look up Herbert Chapman and stuff like that. And I really did, but I'm just being a bit biased. You know what I mean? Because it's so close to my heart when George was there, and when I started supporting Arsenal. But I do like Herbert Chapman was just like as Jez says, in a short space of time what he done, but I suppose I can't see as much about that, like, but I don't disagree with Jez at all.
No, I don't. And Herbert Chapman was an absolute visionary.
Yeah.
He was.
Like back then, like Jesus Christ, like football was played by fucking dinosaurs and people that just wanted to break everyone's legs and stuff like that. But he just seen it a completely different way. And the only reason I know this is because of Jez. Like, just listening to him, it's great.
But listen, also with Herbert Chapman, it's not for me. It's not just what he did at Arsenal. I mean, and that's enough.
Yeah.
But you look at what he did at Huddersfield as well. Right? His record is absolutely astonishing. Like, he won the league 3 times in a row with Huddersfield. I think in the years they didn't win it, they came second or something like that. So it was in the top 2, like, for about 12, 14 years on the bounce. It's just insane.
It's ridiculous.
Do you know what I mean? And I did a series about which team was England's most successful football club, and I went through the whole lot of English football. And when I was doing about Huddersfield, I was shocked what I saw, what Herbert Chapman achieved there before he came to Arsenal. And then he followed that up by doing almost exactly the same at Arsenal as well. It's unbelievable, mate. It really is.
Yeah.
But, and the other thing, you were dead right about the rock-solid defence, because I remember in the 70s, Bill Shankly or Bob Paisley turned around and said, if you want to see what team is going to win the title, look to the team that's not conceding goals.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I remember like when I was sort of little and like that the back five, we'll just say, I remember looking. I never looked at stats, so it wasn't like, for a young fella, you're just there. Did we win, lose, or draw? Like, watching the game, like, But I remember looking in the newspaper, and I remember looking at the leagues, and I started looking at the goals and stuff like that. And I was just there, Jesus Christ, Arsenal have, like, half the season is gone, and we've only a few goals conceded. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but I was just there. That is seriously good defending, like, you know what I mean? Compared to other teams, you're just looking at it. Every other team's goals and Arsenal's was always down low, and it was the simple fact that, like, that back five, like, George Graham, what he built, like, unbelievable. But like that as well. Like, one thing I did see about Herbert Chapman as well was when Huddersfield did get into the Premier League, that, like, they were talking about Chapman and stuff like that, and there was a small little, I think, Sky or something done it, like, and I remembered actually looking at it at the time.
Exactly, mate. So moving on from that, who do you think is the world's greatest ever football player? I know I'm asking you a really hard question.
So who do I think
is the world's greatest ever player?
Oh.
And I know it's a really hard question.
No, I suppose, like, look, we've our Messi's, Ronaldo's and stuff like that, but for me, like, even, like, I just want to mention a few players, like, obviously Messi would be up there, Van Basten, like, Thierry, Bergkamp, Henry, they're gonna obviously stand out, like, and I, to be honest with you, like, Henry should have won the Ballon d'Or one year. Me personally, I thought he should have. Nedved won it instead of him, I think, at 1 year, which was a bit of a joke, but I thought Henry, whatever, we'll talk about that another day. Zidane is definitely up there. But a player that I enjoyed watching the most, and I suppose it's because I was getting, like, into me early 20s and stuff like that when he was around, was Ronaldinho. I just love the chap. Like I love. He got tackled. He was smiling. You know the skills he could do. You know he like he didn't have like as many years as I would have liked him at the top, but I just loved him as a player. And when he was on top, he was just one of the best I've ever seen. Now, and I'll also say the likes of Georgie Best, Maradona, but I'm going to be. It was just because I enjoyed his game more, his personality more. You know, he didn't have as many years as I would have liked for him at the top. But I'll say Ronaldinho. I just love Ronaldinho. But yeah, Maradona. I agree with everyone there. Maradona, outstanding. You know what I mean? The chap was unbelievable, and Georgie Best as well. I have to give Georgie Best was he retired early, but what a player Georgie Best was. He really was. You know, and yeah, look, I, you know, Messi obviously is up there as well, but I'm sort of trying to be not, oh, Messi, good luck. I liked Pele as well, but I wasn't that mad on him. I don't know why. I don't know why. But look, I'm just going to go with Ronaldinho. I loved the way he carried himself and smiled all the time, no matter how hard he was hit.
Thanks, Del Boy. And yeah, what a player he was, though. I mean, I remember him playing at Barcelona.
Oh,
It was unreal. It really was.
yeah.
So, out of the two, who do you think was the better player between Maradona and Pele?
Oh. Because I remember the first time I started watching YouTube, and it was for like Pele was one of the first I wanted to have a look at, and I remember just like that was it the Brazil 70, what year was it? No, what year did they win the World Cup when Pele was on it? How many did he lead win? I remember he was only real young, and I'll come to me again. But
So
I
they
remember
won it in 58, 62, and 1970 with Pele in the team.
I think it was the 70, yeah. I think it was the 70 team that I'm talking about, where there was players and they were jumping on him. Like there was about 3 or 4 players jumping on him to try and stop him. I'll never forget that, you know. And like what a player he was. Like he oh man, Maradona. Oh God, Jesus, Jez, you and your fucking questions. Fuck's sake. Like
Mate, for me, it's clear. There's one player in my head that I just think he's head and shoulders above the rest. But you go ahead, because this is all about you, Del Boy. It's not about me. So
yeah,
go ahead,
no.
man.
Look, I'll just go with Maradona. I have to say Maradona.
Fair play, fair play. Right, so when you've been you mentioned before about how you've been to watch Ireland playing international games quite a lot, and you've been over a few times to see Arsenal as well, and obviously you've watched a lot of football on TV. Who do you think is the greatest player you've ever seen playing that, like, with your own eyes?
Great question.
Because I've seen Diego Maradona play, and I've seen Platini play, and it's a massive privilege that I've got to see them play.
Yeah.
And I've seen Paul Mcgrath play as well, and Richard Goff. But I want to know what you think was the greatest player you've seen play.
I seen him play twice. I seen him in Dublin, and I seen him in the new camp for Cesc Fabregas's first game for Barcelona, and it was Messi. Just yeah, look, he's on a different planet. I didn't even look at the game. I was just looking at him, what he was doing, and he was just a genius back then. Like you think about that was the time that Pep had the Barcelona team. You know, they were probably one of the best teams that I've ever seen play football. Fabregas was there, and even a big shout out that day was Xavi that day. My Jesus Christ, the guy is like, a player that I didn't mention. He was outstanding. Everything went through him on that Barcelona team. They just passed it into him, and he dictated then where he was going to play it, and he just put it on your toe. He just that's how good he was. But Messi was wow. I got to see them players. Obviously I've seen Roy Keane, I've seen Paul McGrath play. But I suppose just for Messi's up there. You know, for one of the best players ever as well, and I'm sure he'll get in a lot of a lot of people's top 5 list. So yeah, it was great to say I've seen him play.
So, thinking about all these great players, if you had the opportunity to sign one player for Arsenal down the years and put them in this team that we've got today, who would you go for? They can come from any era, like going way back from when Arsenal first started playing, right up until the current day. If you had the opportunity to get one of those players and sign them to get them to play today, who would you go for?
Oh, I'm just thinking about the team today and what we need. Um, oh, yeah, like we've no goals. I'm just gonna go because I do. I'm gonna go for Henri because I do love the chap as well. I was gonna go Vieira. Can you imagine Vieira and Party in the middle as well? Get fucking rid of that clown Shaka. You know, but you know, I think goals, let's say next season, definitely will be drying up if we don't get a few players in. So, yeah, I think we're in need of Thierry Henry at the minute, and he's our all time record goal scorer. So, who better to have up front? We could pick Messi, we could pick, but Henry knows the club and, the way it runs, and it means a lot to him as well. So, I'll go Thierry.
Excellent. Oh, fantastic choice, mate. I have to be honest. Okay, so, and where are we? I've lost my spot here. Who? So we talked about greatest ever players and greatest ever teams and whatnot that Arsenal had. Who do you think was the greatest ever team?
Oh, so
There's a few. Like, I'm going to give you a few. Like Barcelona, that team that Messi was in, where Pep was managing them. There was the Brazil team of 1970. They had the AC Milan team. That's just 3. The Arsenal 89 team. But yeah, what would you say was the greatest ever?
I suppose just because, look, I love the Milan team. I love that team, and it just brings back so many memories just even thinking about them. Because, as I said, watching them in back in the '90s on Irish television, and wow, they were just unbelievable. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Barca team. I just think they were just I seen them play. They were outstanding. They just were just everything about them playing football from the back to the front was just pure football, passing, moving. You know, if they lose the ball, everyone on the team tries to get the ball back straight away. It wasn't oh, just let them have the ball. No, get the ball back and let us play football. And it was just total football. For me, it's the Barcelona team. Unbelievable.
Fair play. And slightly aligned to that, who do you think was the greatest ever manager?
Oh, greatest ever manager. Jeez, that's a good one. Oh, Jack Charlton. I'm only messing. He's
Thank
fucking mad
you, Jack.
now. Yeah,
Put him under pressure.
yeah. Jesus. Jesus, that's a great manager. I like. I'm thinking. I don't want to say Pep, but I suppose that Barca team that he had. You know, it would have been hard to manage world superstars, and I mean that like they're superstars to manage. You know, I'm not talking about Pep nowadays. I'm just talking about when you think about it back then, he was young enough, and to have all them players that are world class in a squad and be able to manage them. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine, all the not the there wasn't really egos. I wouldn't say them. I might be wrong. We don't know that, but you know, you've a lot of world talent there, superstars. You know, and to be able to manage superstars who are millionaires, and win what he's won. That Pep, and for a youngish manager, you know, it wasn't that easy, but you know, they did make his job easy as well. So I suppose just out of the top of my head, I'll go Pep back then.
Fair enough. Okie doke. So we're nearly coming to the end now, Del Boy. You'd be glad to know. Probably knackered you out, mate.
No, you're fine.
Do you ever go? Do you ever go and watch games overseas, Del Boy? I mean, I know coming to the UK is overseas for you, but when I'm talking about overseas, I'm talking about in Europe or further afield.
Yeah, well, look, I've been to a lot of grounds in England and stuff like that. I've been to Glasgow and I obviously saying Barcelona when I was over at the Barcelona game. I've been to Sporting Lisbon's ground in Portugal. I've been to America. I've been to obviously Miami over there. Who else did I see? Like I know I've been to what you call it. I was at the Euros as well. Ireland, Sweden. I was over there for when Ireland won it in 2016. I went to the Ireland Sweden game over there. I was over. Where else? Where was I? Can't think. There was somewhere else where I was over to see Ireland. Can't think of it now. It comes to me. But yeah, no, I have been to a few. Yeah, but it's a great buzz. It's good, and when we went to the Euros in France that time, 2016, the hotel room that we arrived in, oh God, it was a shithole. The window was opened and there was a fucking pigeon in the room, and I was just there. Oh God, where am I staying? And I wouldn't mind. It was a few quid as well, but it was because the Euros were on, at the time. So, yeah, I think I could go on a good old story there, but I think it's a long story, so I don't have time for it.
Oh, bless you.
That's another day chat.
So, but did you? I mean, do you have any really funny stories you can tell about any of those adventures that you had?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, we arrived in France when we were playing Sweden that time. We for the day of the match, we were all buzzing and stuff like that. And there was loads of the Irish fans when they go away, they fucking run amok, as in a good way, they're singing, they're dancing, they're drinking and stuff like that. And we were giving it all that. And I remember walking down to the match, and there was a load of TV reporters, and it was I don't know, a TV crew, and they were doing an interview of, oh, look at all the Irish people coming down here, and they were stopping one or two people. And the biggest mistake that this TV presenter ever done in his life was stop Del Boy half cut, and he tried to interview him. So basically fast forwarded a small bit, and I ended up interviewing him. I had the mic, and I was there interviewing this fella live on French television. He didn't know what way to look. He didn't know what way to take me. He was shitting himself. But it's a pity I didn't know back then that I was going to do a YouTube channel, and I could have plugged it.
Exactly. Oh dear. Oh, that sounds hilarious, mate. Oh my god.
Yeah,
God knows
yeah.
go through that fella's head.
Oh, I must dig out the picture, and I might just put it on one of the, one of my channels. Let's say if I'm doing a live stream, I'll put it up for the crack.
Yeah, no, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last question I'm going to ask you, Del Boy, I was going to ask you about who you think are your Arsenal's biggest rivals were, and ask you some questions about that, but I just think that would finish it on a bit of a damp squid. So I'm going to ask you, like, going forward into the future now, because we've talked a lot about the past, right?
Yeah.
What if you could make just one change to the club, right, moving forward? What would it be? If you had the power to go in and say, right, this is what I want this to be different, and this is the reason why, what would you do?
That's a great question, Warren. Jeez, that's a brilliant question. Very good. There's you're telling me one thing. Like there's look, we could have another whole show of fucking what we need to do. But I suppose it was
No,
one
I
thing.
understand that, and I agree with it. But
Yeah,
I just
no.
one
You
thing.
said, yeah, you've said one, so we'll just do one. I'd bring back, okay. I'd bring back the badge. And the reason why I'm bringing back the badge is because it means so much to so many fans. The history that it has is just, if you just picture the badge in your head now, you're thinking ex-players, you're thinking the fun times you had, you're thinking, the memories that people have had, and what the badge means to a lot of people. Because this badge that's on this here, that's only a commercialized badge. It's only a fucking gimmick to me. It really is. It's a cartoon badge. It's not. It doesn't mean anything, And the badge that I grew up loving, the club that I grew up loving, the class that this club has, that badge represents it for me. And what I'd have is in Coney, I'd have that badge everywhere, and fucking big huge thing on top of the roof, or when these players come in, and then for them to know their history and who played for the badges, like who represented them, the fans and what they have to do, and what that badge means to them. That's one thing I'd love to change.
Yeah.
There's loads of other things, Warren, but you're just asking me one. That's one of the big things I change.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with you. And the problem we've got, many of the problems, is that at Colney they had loads of pictures of the Invincibles, right? And they took them all down because it was too much for the players. I just find that unbelievable. And then you've got people like Ben White running around saying, oh, he knows that Vieira wore the number 4 shirt, but he doesn't really know much else, and he hasn't got time to sit and watch videos of games and stuff like that, and he's not really interested in looking at it. And I'm just thinking, mate, you're playing for Arsenal Football Club. The history of this club is really fucking important. And then you're sitting there. That's why I can't stand the fella. I think he's an arrogant little shit.
Yeah.
To me, it's clear that he's got no interest in the club whatsoever. and I guarantee if Real Madrid came in for him, he'd be gone.
Yeah,
He'd be going, just give me it to sign. I don't care what's on it. I would sign. Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? And the thing I love about Wrighty was that when he had a contract to sign, he said, "I don't even want to see what's on it. I just want to sign it."
yeah.
Do you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah, that's it. And it's what these ex-players, like, David O'Leary was the same, Ray Parlour was the same, Tony Adams was the same. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, yeah. So I completely agree. That badge, it represents so much to so many people. You, I don't know if you've seen. You might have been on the stream when it happened when uh, poor old Jez got really upset about the badge and got
Yeah,
really angry about the badge, and he summed it up in a nutshell. He did. The fact that the Latin logo has been taken off in case some fans get upset or insulted by it. I'm sorry, but that is part of the club.
yeah.
In Victoria Concordia Crescent, it's all part of it. You either embrace it all or you fuck off, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it's trying.
Sorry,
Like, you're trying to wipe out history. You know what I mean?
you
It's
can't
history. It's
choose
history of
what
the
bits
club.
you have. Do you know what I mean? It's part of the culture of the club. Victory through harmony. I mean, that just sums up the club.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, but you're right. That badge has to come back. It does. And there's even a Facebook group, right, called Bring Back the Badge.
yeah.
So yeah. So Del Boy, that's it. That's the end of my questions, mate. Is there any last comments you want to make about your life as a football fan and following Arsenal and stuff?
Well, look, it's just look. Um, what this club means to me, I'm always moaning about it and stuff like that. But all I just want for is the best for this club. And I look into my history. I don't know half as much as yourself or Warren or Kenny, or sorry, Jez and Kenny, and, like, everyone else. Like, but boy, geez, I try to learn. Like, I try my best to, have a look into the history and stuff like that. And that's all you can do. You can just try. And, like, I'll always be supporting this club until I'm pushing up daisies. That's the way it is.
Mate,
It means that much to me.
exactly. And mate, I don't care how much you know about the club. What I care about is what you've got in your heart.
Mm.
And your heart is Arsenal Football Club. And I've seen it on numerous times, mate. I I I wouldn't care less if you knew absolutely nothing. I wouldn't. But what matters to me is that you want the best for this club and you want the club to be successful and you want the club to be number one and to win trophies and stuff. That's all that matters to me.
100%. That's what
Do you
it
know
is.
what I mean?
Yeah,
But
it's a
Del Boy, I just want to thank you ever so much for sticking with me for God knows how long we've been going for, like nearly 3.5 hours we've been going.
That's no problem, Warren. You're a great guy.
Thank you. And I've absolutely loved every minute of it.
Yeah, me too.
Please, everyone, go and subscribe to Del Boy Gunner TV. There's a link in the description for his channel. Just click on it. It'll take you there. Go and subscribe to him. Play his videos as well, because having people watching the videos is really important as well to get the watch hours up. Put likes on these videos, all that sort of stuff. Please, 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 because this guy's content is incredible. And
Fair
Delboy,
play.
what have you got coming up in the next few days, mate?
Yeah, so I'll drop a video out probably tomorrow. Just me. I'll probably have a rant or something like that. It was great. It was great being on your show, Warren. Yeah, look, I'll probably drop a video on Wednesday, and then Friday. I hope to have you guys back on again, and we finish off the 79 80 season. We're getting into the European sort of end of things, and I'm really looking forward to getting into the nitty gritty stuff of that, and look, I just want to say I really appreciate you having me on your channel, and I love your channel. I delighted to be on here, and really appreciate you having me on.
No, mate, it's an absolute pleasure. It was my honour. So thank you. Everyone, please don't forget to put a like on the video for me. Make sure you subscribe and share it around as well. And please make sure you go and subscribe to the other people in the chat have got channels. Arsenal Alex has got a great channel. Also go and subscribe to Jessie's channel, Arsenal, the history and more. Absolutely superb stuff. He's doing a video either, I think, Thursday or Friday about the Herbert Chapman era at Arsenal. So that'll be absolutely superb. So go and check it out. You won't be disappointed, I'm sure. So any last comments, Del Boy, before we finish?
No, just thanks everyone for tuning in, and please do check out Warren's channels more often. I can't give it enough praise. Really do great work, Warren. And everyone, please hit a like and share. You know what I mean? It's not easy to do what you're doing, Warren, and putting the effort that you do put in. Really appreciate it. And it's not just for me, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that do really appreciate what the content that you put up. I always love watching your channels, and I will continue to do it. Thanks a million for having me on.
No, it's a pleasure. Anyway, so thanks very much for watching, everyone. Have a great rest of your day or evening or whatever it is. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye for now.